All right, we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to the February 11th, 2025 Salinas City Council meeting, and we'll go ahead and call it to order. This meeting is available in Spanish for members of the public in attendance and on Zoom, and translation devices can be found in the foyer.
Buenas tardes, esta reunión está disponible en español para los miembros del público y en Zoom. Las unidades de traducción se pueden obtener en la entrada de la rotonda.
Okay, and the Zoom webinar ID and link are available on the posted agenda on the city website. And with that, will everyone stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Patty, do your thing.
Roll call. Councilmember Barajas?
Here.
Councilmember Barrera?
Here.
Councilmember Dorigo?
Present.
Councilmember De La Rosa?
Here.
Councilmember Salazar?
Here.
Councilmember Sandoval?
Here.
Mayor Donahue?
I am here.
Thank
All
you.
right. With that, if there's some directors wandering around here who happen to have new employees, speak up. Or forever. All right, Lisa.
Good afternoon. We had one new employee join community development in January, Matthew Gonzalez. Matthew is a community outreach assistant for our Salinas Outreach Resource and Response Team, or SORT, which helps to build trust and rapport with the unhoused population and navigate them to needed services. So we welcome Matthew. Thank you.
Lisa? All right.
I think David, do you have or Selena?
Thank you, Selena Andrews, Finance Director. We have a new employee in the Finance Department. Her name is Yvonne Arellano, and she's a senior accounting clerk. Very happy to welcome her. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kristen, do you have
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kristen Lundquist, Library and Community Services Director, and I'm pleased to introduce Monica Sardina in the back. She's joined our Recreation Park team as a Community Service Manager, and she'll be overseeing neighborhood services and volunteer services, so you'll get to know her and her team very shortly as we move into the new year. And then I'd also like to introduce, I don't believe he's here, but Junior Tui Olosega, who's joined our park maintenance team. We've been working really hard to build that team, and so it's my pleasure to have an additional park maintenance worker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Acosta?
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, everybody. So we are welcoming 7 new employees with the Salinas Police Department, including a promotion. I'll start with Julio Leyva, who was hired on January 13th as a police lateral, and the previous agency was Atascadero Police Department. Francisco Lopez was also hired on January 13th as a police officer lateral position, and his previous agency was Monterey County Sheriff's Department. Nayeli Lopez was hired on January 27th as a police service technician, and she's currently in training. Darwin Anji graduated from the MPC Police Academy on January 24th, and they're currently in training. And then the next 3 individuals graduated from the San Jose Police Academy on January 23rd. Andrea Martinez, Fatima Ramos, Miguel Santoyo, and they're currently in training. And then last is Terry Pullman, was promoted from Community Service Officer to Investigative Specialist on January 6th. So they're all currently in training and excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
David?
Yes, I'm happy to welcome 2 new employees to the Public Works Department. One is David Juarez Guido. He's in our Urban Forestry Department. And then also is Mohammed El Ali, who's our senior engineer, and he is actually here, right here. And he's going to be overseeing our CIP projects, both design and construction projects. So welcome to him.
Good evening. I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to making a positive impact on our city residents and the community we serve in regards to engineering services.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we were lucky tonight. Third time's a charm. And you're going to get a twofer. So while we were here last week and to discuss our firefighter of the year, I do have him here tonight, but I also want to recognize some promotions in our organization. We've been working very hard to succession plan and put people in place that are going to help the organization move forward. So I wanted to mention them here tonight. First is our Deputy Chief, Shane Vanderveen. Here, please stand up there, Shane. Shane's been with us since 2006, and he most recently was our EMS division chief in charge of all of our paramedic operations in the city. Also a SWAT medic himself, as well as a well-respected captain in the field for many, many years. So we're really excited to have him on board. And with those promotions, as you know, the trickle-down effect happens. He promoted into my seat when I promoted up to fire chief. And then in his seat, we have Division Chief Stephen Christie. Stephen, again, a well-respected captain and paramedic since 2011 in the city of Salinas, and before that, he was with the Monterey County Regional Fire District. Also a SWAT paramedic in EMS PTC. We look forward to great things from Stephen in the EMS division. Also behind him, we have Robert Kyle Cox, Captain Cox. Came to us in 2018, and in his vacant position, we have engineer Kent Foster, who is out on a call. He almost made it here. We made it within a block. But the main reason we came tonight, too, is, as I mentioned, is to celebrate our Salinas Firefighter of the Year, engineer, paramedic Ryan McCoubry. Also came to us in 2018, but I explained a little bit last week about where this award comes from. And it doesn't come from me, it doesn't come from the chief officers, it comes from that of one's peers. So nominated by your peers for this distinction is a special honor. We've been doing it for a number of years, and I like to say that, it really exemplifies what the epitome of a Salinas firefighter is, because it comes from within. And Ryan is one of those solid individuals that shows his skills each and every day. We're very proud of the work he does, and some late-breaking news as of last week. Ryan has been named Monterey County's Firefighter of the Year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chief, this time we got the Firefighter of the Year, but not the plaque. Last time we had the plaque and not the firefighter. We are going to get the two together. I do have the plaque. I know where it is. All right. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right. With that, we are now open for public comment for any items pertaining to closed session. The real show comes later, so this is closed session. Any public comment on closed session? All right, that is gone. We're going to go to closed session. And we will be back when we're back, or at 5? We're at 5. So you've got 50 minutes. Stores are still open in Salinas City Center. Restaurants are open. There's still a couple days left to shop for Valentine's Day, so we encourage you to take advantage of all the opportunities that Salinas City Center presents. And there's time to still run out to other parts of the city if that's where you want to do your shopping. So. All right, see you at 5. I think we are ready to go. We're back, and I'll turn it over to the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. So the report out of closed session is that the City Council has authorized the City Attorney's Office to become amicus curiae, that's friend of the court, with respect to litigation challenging federal administrative actions that negatively affect the City of Salinas and its residents. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we have...
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Can you hear this?
Barely.
Okay, well then, because I have a stentorian voice, so that would be a reflection on how high they have these turned up. Well, I haven't changed anything, so. Then I was going to say it's got to. Hey, do you want to say something? How's your volume?
Can you hear this? Okay.
Well, no, this is where it always is.
Yeah. Do you want to repeat what you said?
So let's try this again. Okay, good. So the report out of closed session is that the City Council has authorized the City Attorney's Office to join in litigation brought against federal executive actions that will negatively affect the City of Salinas or its residents. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Chris. All right, we have two proclamations. The first is for National Black History Month. Is there somebody here from the Salinas Juneteenth? All right, we have a proclamation for you, and if you'd like to come to the podium and say a few words, you're welcome to that. Otherwise, we'll present the proclamation.
I'll say as few words as possible.
All right.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to recognize once again some of the people who live in this area, grew up in this area, and enjoy the bounty that this beautiful county and city offers. Second, I want to appreciate, and not only appreciate being acknowledged, but hope to also see you there when we celebrate the Juneteenth this year. I appreciate and respect the fact that you continue to show that Salinas is welcoming to everyone. So, with that said,
We appreciate it, and I'll just a couple of highlights of the proclamation. Whereas February is designated as National Black History Month, and whereas Black History Month recognizes the contributions of African Americans to U.S. history and are essential to the ongoing story of America, and then I'll jump down to whereas the City of Salinas recognizes African Americans' contributions to history from the early days of the pioneers to our present day leaders and honor their courage and contributions. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Dennis Donahue, on behalf of the entire Salinas City Council, hereby proclaim the month of February 2025 as National Black History Month throughout the City of Salinas and call upon our entire community to observe this month. So, and thank you, and if you'll come up. He's coming up. Good to see you. Thank you for your contribution. All right, the second is for National Engineers Week. Apparently there are some engineers who work for the City of Salinas. So we're going to have Adriana Robles come up and receive that proclamation.
Thank you. We're going to give a couple of minutes for the engineering staff to join me. Good afternoon, Mayor Donahue and council members. I am Adriana Robles, your city engineer. I am joined today, come on guys. I am joined today by your engineering staff, your engineering support staff. We come from various departments and various divisions. Tomorrow, as you know, we celebrate President Abraham Lincoln. President Lincoln, was a man of humble upbringing. He was a man who was a fierce supporter of science, technology, and education. He is the only president to own a patent. He helped establish the Smithsonian Institution, the National Academy of Science, and the Department of Agriculture. Now I'm going to be speaking to the young people in our community. President Lincoln is quoted as having said, "All creation is a mine, and every man is a miner." Similarly, this year's Engineers Week theme is Design Your Future. We stand before you, some of us also from humble upbringings, to tell you that the future is what you make of it. With education and tenacity, you can be the next junior engineer, the next assistant engineer, the next senior engineer, the next analyst, the next manager. You can be the next plan checker, the next building official, the next city engineer. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I was going to read some of these whereases, but I'm going to guess you had some input on some of them.
A little bit.
And they're well said. But I certainly like the whereas the city of Salinas employs engineers from diverse backgrounds and knowledge in civil engineering, mechanical engineering, structural engineering, chemical engineering, and computer science. And whereas founded in 1951, National Engineers Week is dedicated to ensuring a diverse and well-educated future engineering workforce by understanding of and interest in and engineering and technology careers. So a number of whereases. You basically have already said it, so I will just acknowledge on behalf of the Salinas City Council, we recognize and proclaim February 16th through February 22nd, 2025 as National Engineers Week, and urge all residents to join us in recognizing the important contributions you all make in our community and daily lives. So thank you to all of you, and whoever or however many would like, or all of you, come on up. You just go right to the point, don't you? Good. Congratulations. Here you go. Thank you. Yeah, if you want to do a picture.
You want to take a picture right here?
Yeah, you can get the group.
You guys want to go down here? We can
Okay.
be the next city councilman.
Good. There you go. There you go. No, I don't. Okay. We will now proceed to public comment. If you wish to make a general public comment or comment on a specific agenda item, you are encouraged. Boy, I don't know why they have me read this one. We are now open for public comment on items that are not on the agenda and that are in the city of Salinas' subject matter jurisdiction. Comments on consideration public hearing items and the consent agenda should be held until the items are reached. So with that, we are open for general public comment, 2 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, City Attorney, City Council members, City staff. My name is Kimberly Bryant. I'm here to offer a prayer to the council, to the city. I would ask that everyone join with me if they know the prayer. It is the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Thank you so much for your service. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I want you to know, as a watchman, and Gemma is a watchman, and Terry Fudena, who's not here, we are watchmen for the city. And if you want to know more about what a watchman is, I'd ask for you to look at your Bibles that we gave you when you were sworn into the book of Ezekiel. And we pray for the city. We pray for each one of you on Thursday mornings. We pray for the fire staff. We pray for the police officers. And we pray for the leadership in this city, and that God would have his way here, and that you would be led with discernment and wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up.
Hello, Wes Weiss, Salinas Bonner County Homeless Union co-president, part of the LEAD committee, Lived Experience Advisory Directive, which is part of the Continuum of Care. I want to throw in here the Beatitudes as well. Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." I want to point out, that you're doing unnoticed sweeps, which is illegal, unconstitutional, this weekend, as well as just about anywhere all the way. Union Pacific, you push people to the tracks back in, the last council did, April of 23, and people have been forced to the tracks ever after. It becomes less of a liability, I suppose, to the city, and of course more of a liability to the private company, Union Pacific. Union Pacific pays for most of it, but you all get your way of just unconstitutionally stealing everyone's personal property. There are plenty of church groups who actually give clothes, blankets, food, medicine, hand warmers, gloves, anything, everything. And what happens? The city come and take it right away from them. So where is all that good love and good spirit coming and going? What are we spending our money on? We've spent $4.25 million a year ago just on sweeps to Smith and Enright. Not even Public Works, not even the police, not even the dumpsters. We're spending all kinds of money to hurt people on purpose. Are we really this mean-spirited? Are we really this callous? A rich man in the eye of a needle and a camel. Who's going to make it first? Stop the sweeps.
Thank you. Okay. Next.
Hello, hi, thank you for this opportunity, but I'm going to need an interpreter because my English is very limited. Okay. En el año 2000 compré una propiedad y 23 años ya de tener esa propiedad, me dieron permiso para construir una ADU. Y se terminó el ADU este año, el 24, el 2024, y he tenido problemas para poder conseguir la dirección para que se pueda instalar la electricidad. Entonces me pidieron una nueva dirección, y en esa nueva dirección, para conseguirla me piden que la propiedad que ya estaba allí, que la saque al código de hoy en día. Y a esa propiedad yo no la he tocado, no le estoy trabajando. Yo solamente estoy pidiendo la dirección de la propiedad nueva que se acaba de construir. Y vine aquí para ver si ustedes me hacían el favor de ayudarme a resolver este problema. Gracias. Sí.
Su nombre no lo dijo.
Perdón, mi nombre es Serafín Albarrán.
Good afternoon. My name is Serafín Albarán,
And in 2000, I bought a property. In 2023, I obtained the permits to build an ADU. We finished building it in 2024, and the problem is that I need an address to be able to install electricity. I've been trying to get that process done, but now they're telling me that in order to get the address for the ADU, I have to have the current construction up to date, but I haven't touched that. I haven't done anything to the other house, so I'm trying to see if I can get the address so I can install the electricity. So I'm asking you to help us with this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Name is Eric Peterson. Coming back from Marina today, they've got a Trader Joe's. They're smaller than we are. We should have a Trader Joe's. They had a Trader Joe's with a full parking lot. And think of the sales tax revenue. So can we get a Trader Joe's? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rita Acosta. I just want to say homelessness is very hard. It's nothing easy about it. I should know I was homeless myself, but I'm indoors. I have my own apartment. I work and everything, but I'm still in Chinatown because that's where I got my apartment. And it is so hard out there for the people right now. I see you guys. I know everything has to be cleaned and stuff like that. I understand that. But it is so cold. I mean, they're taking everybody's blankets and everything. That is so hard to see. People drive through there and they're just like, oh, but I see it every single day. When you're taking everybody's blankets and stuff, that is really unjust right there. At least let them grab their blankets and stuff. They're trying to get their stuff out. Even though they're moving their stuff out, they're still taking everything. If they have it off of where they're at, I don't know why it's still getting taken. And the blankets, they need those blankets. That's so sad to leave them out there freezing. It's been freezing. And to leave them out there with nothing, I'm just sad to say that is wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. Human beings. Yes, we have a lot of programs, but we don't have enough. We have shelters, but not enough. People are out there freezing. And then to take their things, I think it's just wrong. I'm sorry, but it's wrong.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Chávez. Soy parte de la escuelita. Vivo en el Distrito 4, donde tenemos la prostitución, tráfico de carros y choques. Primero doy gracias por la acción que tomaron de mandar policías en moto, ya que ellos se esconden y no los miran. Pararon muchas personas en sus carros. No se miran ya muchas muchachas prostituyéndose. ¿Será por el frío, la lluvia o que todavía no empieza el trabajo del FIL? Esa acción de los policías está bien mientras encontramos la solución a este grande problema. Sabemos que hay personas que es su trabajo, la prostitución. Pedimos que se les pongan en un lugar donde estén seguras, donde puedan trabajar y tengan chequeos médicos. Pedimos también que pongan luces, ya que nuestras calles están oscuras, Roosevelt y Madeira. Que en el staff de la calle Roosevelt y Madeira, luces que se prendan y se apaguen para que las personas miren y no se brinquen el staff, porque se la pasan y por eso que hay choques. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Chavez, and I'm from La Escuelita. I'm from District 4, and I'm here to talk about prostitution, traffic, and all the collisions that they are where we live. I thank you for the actions that have been taken. You have sent police officers on motorcycles. That helps a lot because they're able to hide, and they have detained many people. Right now, there's not a lot of prostitution. I don't know if because it's cold, because it's raining, because work hasn't started in the fields. Whatever the reason is, the police action is a good action, but it's not the final solution. We have issues with these people. We have to find them. I know that prostitution is their work, but we have to find them a safe place where they can work. They need medical checkups. Also, where we live, it is very dark. There is no street lights, and that is why there's so many crashes in the Roosevelt and Madeira intersection. So we do need street lights because nobody respects the stop sign because they can't see it. So street lights are essential in that area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es Linei Rondín. Linei Rondín. Soy del Distrito 4. Vengo también por lo de la prostitución. Vivo en Roosevelt y Madeira. A los días que vine con ustedes, les quiero dar las gracias. Hubo mucho policía de moto. Los policías hicieron el trabajo. Yo creo que no critico a los demás de los autos, sino los de la moto, porque se escondían, de repente salían. Cuando llegó el bus de la escuela, mucho tráfico, se iban los carros, entonces las motos paraban a los que no hacían stop. Entonces hasta los niños les aplaudieron a los policías por estar allí, porque corren peligro. En la noche no hay tanta prostitución ya, y quiero darle las gracias a los policías porque hacen su trabajo, y darle las gracias a ustedes porque nos escuchan, pero ya no queremos más esto, y es todo. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Leinin Odin, and I'm from District 4, and I'm here to talk about prostitution. I live in Roosevelt and Madeira, and I want to thank you because last time that we talked to you about prostitution, we immediately saw an increase of police officers on motorcycle working there. It's not that we want to criticize the cars, but motorcycles can hide, and they have been able to detain and stop the traffic. Even there was a school bus of children. When they saw that they had stopped somebody, they started clapping the officers because they realized that it is dangerous not to stop at the stop sign. So I really appreciate that you have listened to us, that you have sent the police, and that you hear us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Olga Reina. I come from District 4, and I'm here to let you know I work with BHC, Building Healthy Communities. I've been working with them hard, and this problem with immigration is hitting our community very, very hard. And I'm really happy that Salinas City is helping out with this forum that's happening tomorrow. I really want to invite all of the city council to come out there, talk to the people, involve yourselves, because sometimes we need to see the council people touch the lives of the people that are being affected by this. I work with the food bank, and I see Dominic Dorsa from Robert Rivas' office and some of his people come through the food bank and just watch us work and put packages together for the people that we're serving. And then we go to the distribution sites. That's a good place to get involved. Sometimes I feel like you're here, but you're not involved with the people. The people need to see you. They need to feel you. And just being there, I think, is going to make a difference. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And please come out and join us tomorrow and be part of the community. We need you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Sofía Alvarado y vivo en el Distrito 1 y voy a la escuelita también, participo en la escuelita. Y vengo a pedirle al señor José Luis Barajas que por favor, pues que él que pertenece ahí en el Distrito 1, que si nos puede apoyar por favor en arreglar como las calles. Las calles están en muy mal estado, como la Ryder del Monte a la Garner está en muy mal estado y lo invitamos a recorrer las calles para que mire cómo están en muy mal estado, y las banquetas en muy mal estado también, por lo mismo que los árboles levantan las raíces de los árboles. El alumbrado en muy mal estado tampoco, no hay suficiente alumbrado. No podemos salir ni a la tienda porque la verdad, pues, en este tiempo cuando cambia el horario, ya no sale. La verdad no sale porque no hay alumbrado, no podemos salir ni a la tienda tarde o a caminar por lo mismo, ¿verdad? Y le pido por favor que pues nos apoye en ese aspecto y cuando guste lo invitamos a recorrer las calles, ¿verdad? Porque pues de hecho pues le pertenece pues a todos, ¿verdad? Más que nada que nos apoyen. Y los vecinos pues hasta tapando los hoyos de la calle de la Pacific, porque unos hoyos grandísimos. Bueno, a mí me ha tocado pues también ponerle unas piedritas porque la verdad está muy en mal estado, pues, ¿verdad? La calle por donde yo vivo. Y pues es todo lo que yo les pido por favor que pues nos apoyen en ese aspecto, ¿verdad? Y cuando guste, ahí estamos para invitarlo a recorrer las calles. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Sofia Alvarado. I'm from District 1, and I'm part of the Escuelita. So I'm here to ask Council Member Jose Luis Barajas to please support us in fixing the streets, mostly in Ryder, Monte, and Gardner. Gardner, sorry. Thank you. They're in very bad condition. So I invite you to come and look at the streets. You can see the curbs, they're in very bad conditions, they're deteriorated. The trees, the roots are making our curbs, they're ruining them. We don't have enough light. And in this time of the year where it gets dark very early, it's even hard to walk or go to the store because it's so dark outside. We need better lighting. We invite you to come and see the streets with us. The streets belong to all of us, and we really need to get them improved. In Pacific, the potholes are so bad that even us, we try to gather rocks and try to fill up those potholes because they're very bad. And I live close to there. So I really ask for your support. I invite you to come and walk with us so you can see the state of all these streets, and we're there whenever you want to come and visit us.
Thank you.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Víctor Mora. Vengo representando a BHC, construyendo comunidades. Y aparte de eso, soy líder de un sindicato aquí, en el Valle de Salinas, por 25 años. Quiero pedirles que por favor nos acompañen a los foros porque no hemos visto a ninguno de ustedes en los foros que se están llevando a cabo. Es muy importante apoyar a nuestra gente porque lo fuerte aquí de Salinas es la agricultura. Nuestra gente está un poco desubicada porque nunca se había oído eso. Siempre ha estado de migración trabajando, nomás que pues hasta ahora se hizo como una bomba de tiempo, explotó. Y ha visto muchos foros que se están llevando a cabo. A ninguno de ustedes hemos visto en los foros. Necesitan poner un poco de su parte, de su trabajo para ayudar a nuestra comunidad, porque si no los ayudan ustedes, va a haber escasez de gente para levantar la cosecha. Por favor, mañana va a haber un foro muy importante en la Lizal. Espero que estén, aunque sea unos 2, 3 de ustedes ahí, para apoyar a nuestra gente. Ahorita es cuando se ocupa el apoyo de ustedes y de todos nosotros, porque nuestra gente está muy desubicada, muy asustada, pero no es tanto lo que dicen, sino Nunca había pasado eso. Y aparte de eso queremos que apoyen la ordenanza que pasó 100% porque la gente que viene de fuera, que están fuera de las corridas, cuando regresan para acá no tienen en dónde vivir. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Mora, and I'm from BHC, Building Health and Communities. And I've also been a union leader in the Salinas Valley for over 25 years. And I'm here to ask you to please help us. I haven't seen none of you present in any of the forums that they have been happening here in the area. We need to support our people. Agriculture is one of the main industries of the area, and our people are afraid. They don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of like a time bomb that's about to explode. They feel uncertain, and we haven't seen none of you in any of the forums that have been happening. And we need to feel that you're supporting and helping the community. Tomorrow there's going to be a very important forum in Alisal High School. I hope to see 2 or 3 of you there because people need your support. People need to see you that you're there, that you're helping. People feel very uncertain. We've never gone through this before. This have never happened. And I need you to support 100% the new ordinance that supports people because when they come back, there's no place to live. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council, Honorable Mayor, Luis Chago Juarez for Building Healthy Communities. I just wanted to recognize or just acknowledge the thank you to Mayor Donahue, Councilmember Barrera for showing up at the sidewalk display installation right there on Tout Street in front of St. Mary's Church. It was a celebration of the visual arts as well as the performing arts. And as you know, the community came out. And it was in that, events like that we get to see and celebrate together the culture. As multicultural as it can be, it's those opportunities to really call people in and cultivate that safe space of celebration. It's needed. It's needed, and it's healthy, right? It's good for our own health to be out in the neighborhoods, be walking around, checking out the great artwork from Salinas artists, and being able to experience even the live performances from our own residents, from our own neighbors, their families. It was just a great opportunity to just be together, be with our residents, be with our neighbors. And the more we can invest in that, in creative formats, platforms, the stronger we can be. Thank you.
Good evening, Brian Samniego from the Homeless Union, also first generation Downtown Street team member from Maria Cambion. Worked under Gloria De La Rosa, District 4 during COVID. Now I'm in the Share Center, been there over a year. Received a choice voucher during the draw in September. And since the switch over from BACS to the county, it has been nothing but crap. They have no plan set in place. There's no cushion. I'm one of the 4 individuals that has a choice voucher myself, and the individuals set in place to provide services haven't been providing services. Community Human Services isn't doing their job neither, and I'm proof of that because I'm one of the 4 that has been there since September and haven't been housed yet. So I have a question for all of you is if we're having this many problems on the street, what hope is there when I say I am one of the 4 that has a voucher, but yet the agency that is taking over is requesting for the people there, and we're almost at capacity, but yet I haven't seen one person come from the Chinatown area or the streets. They're all from Watsonville area, Pajaro, San Benito County. I know we're the only shelter of its kind that was designed to serve those counties. I'm well aware of that. Like I said, I'm well informed. I was was part of the team during COVID. I'm now a victim and proof of that. So what they're doing by filling that up, Community Human Services is doing nothing. It's simple fact that those people who get a job, and most of us in there being Hispanic or from some other descent besides Caucasian, if you lose your job, which they're asking people to get a place, there's no cushion. So if you lose your job, you lose the apartment, you're right back to the streets, and we're getting nowhere with that. I'm proof of that. Earlier, I seen Mrs. De La Rosa, and I've worked with her in the past. I'm looking forward to actually opening this up more and into detail personally and tell her what's really going on. I hope that I see a change so I don't have to take this further. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Balch. I'm the executive director of Closer Walk, which does a lot of homeless outreach in Chinatown. We also we hand out blankets, tarps, jackets. The last couple of weeks, we've handed out about 150 jackets and over 200 blankets and about 20 tents. I also oversee the Dorothy's Drop-In Center, the showers, the bathrooms. So I see a lot of what's going on in Chinatown on a daily basis, and I do have two very big concerns with the sweeps as they're going on right now. First of all, in years past, we didn't do sweeps when it's 30 degrees out at night. I don't know why we're doing that this year. For some reason, on the worst nights of the year, we're doing sweeps. On the nights when the County of Monterey is handing out $170 a night housing vouchers to get people off the streets, the city of Salinas is throwing away tents, tarps, and blankets. It makes zero sense, and it's putting lives in danger. Second, I was talking with a public works person yesterday, and he said when they come by to do sweeps, they throw everything away. And I said, everything? And he stopped and he said, everything. That's unconstitutional. Under Levon versus the City of Los Angeles, a case arising out of Skid Row in Los Angeles in 2012, the City of Los Angeles was going up to homeless people's possessions that were left on sidewalks and throwing them away. The City of Los Angeles, the Ninth Circuit said that was unconstitutional. It violated their due process rights and their right. The remedy had to be the city had to store the materials that were not obvious trash. And they said just because something was unattended did not mean it was abandoned. And said it had to store it. The city is not doing that. I understand the city wants to be efficient in the way it's conducting its sweeps, but that does not trump compassion. And I would ask for a look into the way the city is conducting its sweeps and the timing of when it does its sweeps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Okay.
Mayor, excuse me. City Manager, can we follow up with Mr. Balch about these sweeps? If we are, in fact...
Yeah, I'll follow up and report back.
Thank you.
Leo?
Hello, everyone. Mayor, City Manager, our attorney, and the rest of you City Council members. My name is Leo de la Rosa. And the reason I am here is the means that you have provided the city, the community, to report issues in the community so you be aware what's going on. Seems like it's having problems. It's not responding back to reports that the people send. I don't know if you're aware of that. You know, I've received calls where we don't want people to get turned off, that we want them to continue reporting so you know where the problems are and take care of them. The other issue is there's been reports on a certain place, I think since a couple of years back, the same place, the same issue, and you know, it hasn't been taken care of. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I mean, if we continue letting people continue doing what they're doing and you just give them a little slap on the hand, I mean, that ain't gonna take care of all the problems in Salinas, so you guys need to come up with the solutions. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, Concilio. Mi nombre es Nidia Soto. Quiero agradecer al alcalde y al concejal Barrera por estar en el evento de arte el sábado pasado. Y dirijo este mensaje a todo el concilio. Ustedes son servidores públicos. Demuestren su liderazgo con la comunidad, con una nueva visión, construyendo una nueva esencia, con el pueblo todo y sin el pueblo nada. Este año 2025 quedará en la historia por todo lo que está pasando. Ustedes son servidores públicos y están para servir al pueblo. Los invitamos a demostrar su apoyo en este tema de inmigración que está pasando nuestra comunidad. Ustedes saben a quién representan en esta área y nuestro pueblo necesita su presencia, que enseñen su solidaridad a nuestra gente. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Nidia Soto, and I want to thank Mayor and Councilmember Barrera for attending on Saturday to the art event. And to all the other council members, I want to invite them and tell them that you're all public servers, and to please show your leadership and support the community. This is an opportunity to start with a new type of vision and include the whole population. Everything with the population, nothing without the population. Because right now, this moment will be historic. And we really need your support. We really need you to help the community because of all the immigration issues that are happening. We need to know that you are supporting the community independently of who you support. So we really need you to represent us, protect the community, and help us with all these immigration issues that are going on. Thank you.
All right. All right. Looks like that's it. All right. Is anyone on Zoom? No one? Okay. With that, we will go ahead and.
No, we do, sorry.
Where are they?
So we have two on Zoom. We'll go ahead and start with 4436.
Okay.
2 minutes.
All right. Go ahead.
Participant with the phone number of last four of 4436, 2 minutes.
Okay, so this is Eloise Shem, and excuse me. I came earlier to the Finance Committee and I was talking about Chinatown, and I just wanted to say, since I hear a lot of people making the public comment about the prostitution in their neighborhood, that they have the same problem in Chinatown in 1987 or 1992. And what they did is they diluted the number of bars. They had moved a bar from Market Street to Chinatown, and then they started taking away any bars. So if they have bars there in that neighborhood, maybe they should close them down. The other thing that they did is they blocked the street. So maybe they should block the street so that the criminals can't get away. The other thing that I want to mention is that, you know, Chinatown, since the 60s, all the residents had to leave, and now it's been, you know, a shelter for homeless people for a long time. And as I said earlier, we want to see those buildings that belong to the Chinese people, historical buildings. We want to see them built up, and we want to see Chinatown be revitalized in a real way, not just on paper. And so I hope that the people who are homeless and also who are having prostitution in their neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. All right, next.
Liz Camacho, 2 minutes.
Good evening, council members. I'd like to address the matter of pedestrian safety in our city, especially following another vehicle versus pedestrian accident last week. While we certainly need to promote more responsible driving, there are basic infrastructure improvements that the city needs to implement to prevent future accidents. Specifically, I'm deeply concerned about inadequate lighting in District 1. The intersection of Veranda and Ryder is extremely dangerous. There's been about 2 accidents in the past month alone. This little stretch of road adjacent to Natividad Creek Park is virtually pitch dark at night. We have a 65-plus community on Mesquite whose residents cannot safely walk to the nearby shopping center due to the poor visibility. So basic activities like walking to local businesses shouldn't put our seniors at risk. You all ran on a public safety platform, and there's no greater public safety than being able to walk on your streets at night. Councilmember Barajas, I also extend an invitation to you to come to our neighborhood to see the conditions firsthand. Sometimes experiencing these issues in person makes the urgency much greater, and I'm not sure if you've had a chance to come around. So let's just not wait for another accident to happen. Our community deserves well-lit and safe streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. That looks like it's it. So we will, thank you, everyone. We will go ahead and close public comment, and then I believe the city attorney has a few words before we proceed.
So, Mayor, with respect to the Levine Act, do any members of the council have any campaign contributions to disclose related to any item on today's agenda? Councilmember Barajas?
No.
Councilmember Barrera?
No.
Councilmember Diarigo?
No.
Councilmember De La Rosa?
No.
Councilmember Salazar?
No.
Councilmember Sandoval?
No.
And Mayor Donahue?
No.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we will go ahead and proceed to the consent agenda. Does anyone on the council wish to pull any item on the agenda for discussion, and then they would be the only person able to comment on? And then if anyone on the public wishes to comment when we go to public comment, they can make a collective comment. So with that, council, anything on the consent agenda?
027, Mayor.
Okay. All right, anything else?
027.
Okay. Andrew and Councilmember Barrera on the same one? Okay.
027, Mr. Mayor.
All right, looks like 027 is going to be in play.
Mayor, 027 as well, Mayor.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay, just 027. All right. Okay. All right. Anyone from the public wish to comment on any item?
027.
Okay. Okay, you need anyone who wishes to comment needs to just come up and.
Hi, David
make a comment.
Masonev, 027.
Okay, well, no, you need to make a comment.
So just for clarification for everyone, we're trying something a little different here. So Mayor is now opening it up for public comment on the consent items. So if anybody has a comment on the consent items, feel free to come up to the podium now, and we'll do 2 minutes per person on any item on consent.
Okay. Kind of wanted to hear what you guys had to say about it, but so I'll just be straightforward. I'm opposed to this. I think there's a lot more involved than pushing the feds out of the picture. Somehow I would love to see us help people get into the process of getting citizenship or even a green card or something of that nature, but it's going to take a concerted effort. It's not going to just be ICE or Salinas. It's going to take all of us to be able to make a meaningful dent in the challenge of bringing our neighbors into compliance. I definitely understand their fears, and I understand their challenges. I haven't lived their challenges, but, you know, it's easy to see why people are afraid. I would love to see us as a city, instead of promoting, I would just love to see us promote a solution rather than just piggyback off of something that I don't think is really conceived too well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Is there any public comment on Zoom?
None on Zoom.
Okay. Go ahead.
Bueno, como les decía, mi nombre es Sofía Alvarado, ¿verdad? Y como dijo aquí el compañero de la sección 48, ¿verdad? Que nos apoyaran, porque la verdad, pues yo trabajo en el campo y la verdad sí nos ha afectado bastante de eso, de lo que está pasando ahorita, de las redadas, de migración. Uno ya no sale a gusto a la calle, la verdad, por lo mismo, ¿verdad? Y si en ustedes está que nos puedan apoyar, yo se los voy a agradecer bastante, no nada más por mí, porque ustedes saben que hay muchísima gente como yo, ¿verdad? Que pues nosotros somos el sostén de aquí, de California, de Estados Unidos, y qué más nos daría gusto que ustedes nos apoyaran en ese aspecto, ¿verdad? No sé ustedes cómo miren que, pues la verdad uno sale con miedo, mucha gente ya no quiere salir por lo mismo ni a la tienda por miedo, la verdad sí. Y yo sí les pido en nombre mío que por favor sí nos apoyen. Yo tengo 30 años sin ir a mi país, yo ya no sé nada de allá, ¿verdad? Y pues, ¿qué más? Me daría gusto ir, pero pues no puedo, pero yo quiero sentirme segura aquí porque yo siento que este es mi país, porque tengo ya 30 años aquí y siento que yo ya soy de aquí. Aunque no tenga estatus migratorios, yo soy de aquí porque pues toda mi vida me la he pasado aquí. Y les pido por favor que pues si en ustedes está que nos ayuden, nos apoyen. Muchas gracias.
You.
Good afternoon. As I said before, my name is Sofia Alvarado, and I would really appreciate if you can support Ordinance 48. I work in the field, and we have been very, very affected by this situation with all the raids, with all the immigration issues. It is really, really hard. None of us want to go out. We're afraid. We need your help. We need your support. Because, you know, we are the people that sustain California. We are the people that really work for California, and we really need your help. We really need your support. We're afraid. I really ask you if there's any way that you can support us in my name and the name of everybody, if you can please help us. I haven't gone back to my country in 30 years. I don't even know what's going on in my country anymore. I want to feel safe in this place that I consider my country, even though I don't have an immigration status, but this is where I live. This is where I've been for the past 30 years. So this is where I consider a home. So if you can help us in any way, to me and everybody else, I would really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. I just want to say that I do support this as well. This community is made up largely of immigrants, and we're all your constituents. I go to meetings, I go to forums, we go into the schools, we go into the churches, we hand out red cards, and people are terrified. People are afraid. And children are afraid. I've seen kids crying because they're afraid their parents are going to be taken away, or ICE is going to come into the schools and take them. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. And I think anything that our city can do to help its constituents and help our residents is the right thing. And I really thank you for making this a point today.
Thank you. Okay. We will come back to council for discussion. We'll go, I think, we'll start with Councilmember Sandoval.
Well, can we hear from the city attorney or maybe Councilmember Barajas what the intent of this bill or the support of this is, so the public knows?
Yeah, so from my understanding, City Attorney, please feel free to jump in and correct me at any point. This bill is meant to further prohibit ICE from entering school sites and carrying out immigration enforcement. Recently, President Trump issued a directive to ICE eliminating hospitals, healthcare facilities, and school sites as sensitive areas to not conduct immigration enforcement. This just further enhances protections at the state level and reiterating that ICE is not allowed on school premises to carry out immigration enforcement action.
That's correct, and there's one additional point. It prohibits the sharing of information about the students and the students' families and their households to immigration enforcement bodies. That's the second piece of this.
Thank you. Just so everybody who hadn't had a chance to read it is aware. The reality is there is a real fear in our community. You know, the Salinas Valley is the hub to agriculture, an $8 billion industry. And I'll note that agriculture has been silent on this issue, and which is surprising because they make millions and millions of dollars off the backs of immigrants. And I challenge them and invite them to come here to City Hall to have a discussion on how they will support their workers and our community. It's for those that are not affected by it, you might not give it a second thought. But for the families and the students across not just Salinas, but across the country who live in fear, it's a scary thing. It is a scary thing for a lot of families. I think it's important to show that the City Council is in support of our immigrant community. You know, as a son of immigrant parents, it's a need to show support for our community. And this is a first step to show that we are committed to supporting the residents of Salinas. Thank you.
Councilmember Barrera.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Well, I want to say thank you to Councilmember Jose Luis Barajas for bringing this forward with the support of this council. You know, the City Council has been very busy in meeting to protect the city. As a matter of fact, we met with the Chief of Police, the City Attorney, and I think we're all in the same understanding when fear can paralyze a community. And the reality is it will impact our whole agriculture industry. That's a reality. It's happening already. We were at an event at school district. They said that day 30% of the children did not go to school. Think about the impact. There's legalities on every issue. But today we're speaking about taking care of the people that live here. We just heard about a woman that's been here for 30 years. She says this is her home. She deserves to live in peace. Now, the threat is real, but I would like, if I may, Mr. Callahan, if you could just reiterate what, and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but what we can do as a city versus other issues that people think we should do. But what's in our legal purview here to be able to protect our citizens, our residents? Thank you.
Sure, Councilmember Barrera, but I want to make sure that we stay on
Yes.
topic with respect to the agenda. So this particular piece of legislation pertains to educational institutions and not necessarily cities. And so the extent of the city's role with respect to this legislation would be, as is on your agenda tonight, to support this, right?
Yes.
And so that's what's before you, the question of whether or not you want to support this by sending a letter to the state Senate in support of this legislation.
Thank you. And Mayor, when we're ready, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, noted. Okay, thank you. Okay, Jose, do you have anything else?
Well, was proud to bring this back to the City Council. I participate in the County Monterey's Immigrant Rights Ad Hoc Committee.
in conjunction with our mayor and Councilwoman De La Rosa. This was brought up in that body. The County of Monterey did send a letter of support to our state legislature, letting them know that as a county, they support it, and I think as a city, it was incumbent upon us to also send a letter of support, reiterating that. I myself am an immigrant. I was brought to the United States by my parents when I was 2 months old. So similar to many people, I don't know my country of origin. America is all I know. Salinas is all I know. Salinas is my home. I grew up in a time where immigration, ICE was conducting immigration enforcement at school sites. It was a scary time to memorize my parents' phone number when I was 7, 8 years old, knowing, you know, which neighbor's house I was going to have to go to if I came back and my mom wasn't there. These are real fears. Not only are they real fears, they're real threats. A superintendent in the state of Texas recently sent out a letter to all their parents and students letting them know that because of the way the state of Texas is collaborating and cooperating with ICE, that they're going to be allowing ICE to conduct immigration enforcement on their school buses and their school sites. So it's not only, you know, we're not doing this to be symbolic. These are very real threats that we're facing, you know, in these times. In the letter, we see that 40% of our city's population is foreign-born. We are a city of immigrants at the end of the day, and it's really important that we reflect that and support all of our students. These immigrants chose Salinas. They chose to live in our community. They chose to, you know, raise their families here, and I think today we're showing them that we choose to support you as well. Thank you.
Member Aurelio?
I often try to commit to myself to not be long-winded, but sometimes I get a little long-winded when it comes to things that I'm passionate about. You know, I'm not too sure where to begin. First, you know, I just want to acknowledge and thank Councilmember Barajas for bringing this forward, and just want to reiterate and reemphasize with like our farm worker community. And I'm sorry, I want to speak in Spanish, but I'm doing this in English, right? I mean, we're worth you. Period. My parents, my older sisters worked in the fields. I worked with them, working in the cebolla, as we know it, working in the onion in Oregon. You know, it's a smell you'll never forget. But, you know, I just want to take a step back, if it's okay. You know, back on January 1st, 1892, 15-year-old Irish girl named Annie Moore became the first of more than 12 million immigrants who would pass through the doors of Ellis Island Immigration Station in its 62 years of operation. I mean, this country was founded on immigrants, even going back to our First Nations, right? It's what we are, it's what we do. We should have doors and policies to let people continue to be part of this diverse country, right? Not to mention between 1815 and 1860, more than 5 million immigrants arrived in America from Great Britain, Ireland, Norway, the German states, and Persia. I mean, it's what we are. We're in a difficult position as a city council regarding this because, yes, we're limited in terms of who we can even talk to without having like a thorough meeting and violating the Brown Act. And I know that there are council members that want to see more. I know that there are residents that want to see more. But this is one of many steps that we'll be taking in terms of, you know, doing what we can for our residents. It was said earlier that this council has not been seen at some of these Know Your Rights forums. And I just want to correct the narrative there, if I can. And the folks from BHC just want to make it clear, you know, the nonprofit organization that I work for is helping organize this event that you talked about us having tomorrow. And we've been having these conversations because what we don't want to do is bring unnecessary attention to our farm worker community. So we're stuck. It's like this endless game of paper, rock, scissors. We throw down paper, someone throws down rock, someone throws down scissors, and we're stuck. But having that community input from all of you in terms of what action, what direction we should be going in, really does help us out. I do want to, you know, emphasize again. There's been some misinformation that continues to go out on social media, on the internet. We need to be, more proactive. These are things that I know that a lot of us are talking about quietly and figuring out like those action plans. But in terms of standing in solidarity with our farm worker community, without a doubt, this council stands in solidarity with its farm worker community. And I do hope to see all of you tomorrow. And so I do want to thank Councilmember Barajas for bringing this to the table. And I know that we'll continue to address this as we move along. And I do understand the other argument on the other side too. We've had those arguments, people saying, hey, you guys, hey, city, you gotta address potholes. You gotta address sidewalks. You gotta address lights. So all of those things are all on our priority list. And so we are juggling it to the best of our ability. And the only way that we can get through this is if we get through it together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. All right. There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second. All right. Very good.
Mayor Donahue, and just to confirm with the motions of the maker, this is item on 027 only, or are we moving the entire consent agenda?
Maker of the motion, consent agenda?
Everything? Okay, so makers of the motion confirming the motion is to approve consent items 030, 024, and 027.
All right, there's a first and a second for that, as I understand.
Thank you. Councilmember Barajas?
Yes.
Councilmember Barrera?
Yes.
Councilmember Diarigo?
Yes.
Councilmember De La Rosa?
Yes.
Councilmember Salazar?
Yes.
Councilmember Sandoval?
Yes.
Mayor Donahue?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. All right, with that, we will proceed to a public hearing, and who am I looking for on this one? Okay, very good. And we will be talking about CalPERS and a 180-day waiting period.
Yes, good evening, members of the City Council and Mayor. My name is Patricia Peñalosa, and I'm one of the HR managers. Before you is a resolution requesting approval for an exception to the CalPERS 180-day wait period for hiring retired annuitant David Gonsalves as Interim Assistant Community Development Director. CalPERS requires retirees to serve a 180-day wait period before becoming employed as retired annuitants. And agencies must obtain approval from their governing body during a public meeting to appoint a retired annuitant if it needs to happen before the 180 days. Mr. Gonsalves is currently an Assistant Community Development Director for the city and is retiring on March 12, 2025. The city currently has one vacancy for Assistant Community Development Director, and with Mr. Gonsalves' retirement, the city will have a total of 2 vacancies at that level. We are actively recruiting for both vacancies, and we're asking this council to waive the 180-day wait period to appoint Mr. Gonsalves as Interim Assistant Community Development Director effective March 17, 2025, to perform work of limited duration. Mr. Gonsalves has the skills needed to perform this type of work and will help maintain continuity in the Community Development Department. The provisions of his employment that must be followed include that Mr. Gonsalves receive base pay only without additional compensation, and he's limited to working not more than 960 hours per fiscal year. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? I'll look to my left. I'll look to my right.
I have a question.
All right, Councilmember Barrera.
Mr. Gonsalves must be a very valuable person here. Let me ask you something. And I did speak to the city manager regarding this as well, but can you just share with the public what the investment is for the residents of the city if this city council approves this?
The financial impact, that is?
Not necessarily the financial impact, but the services of this gentleman, of keeping him here.
Yes.
Because this is a special report. I mean, we're bringing it up because evidently you value his skill. What can the residents that use your service?
I can provide a very high level, and then if I can ask Lisa to come up, but Mr. Gonsalves does provide oversight for the current planning divisions, code enforcement, and permit services, but I'll ask Lisa, our community development director, to come up and share a little bit more.
So thank you. I'll give a brief response now, but there will be more coming with our annual report that I'll be providing for the Permit Center. So really the goal here is continuity of service. Mr. Gonzalez and his experience really has brought a wealth of knowledge, information, and leadership to the Permit Center and its functions. And while we're going through the recruiting process, it's very important to maintain that momentum and that level of service. So that is why we are asking for this exemption, so that he may step into this limited role and support the transition while we search for his replacement.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Barrera. Okay. Anyone else from the council? All right, are there any public comments on this appointment or potential appointment for Wavier? Okay, nothing from the public? Or is there?
None on Zoom.
Okay, very good. All right, any final comments from council?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. And yes.
Okay, so just wanted to thank Mr. Gonzalez for, choosing and continuing your public service after what I'm sure is a well-earned and hard-earned retirement for you. I know there's having continuity in our city is really important, and appreciate you willing to take on these duties as I hope that when I reach my retirement age, I still have that sense of service to still want to carry on that service well past that. So thank you, and I commend you for that.
And Mayor, I also want to say thank you, and this report today says a lot about your character, your skills, your team. We want to be able to provide the greatest service that we can for the people of Salinas, and so congratulations.
All right, to my left. All right. I have a motion and a second on the floor, and it looks like we can call for the question.
Councilmember Barajas?
Yes.
Councilmember Barrera?
Yes.
Councilmember De Rigo?
Yes.
Councilmember De La Rosa?
Yes.
Councilmember Salazar?
Yes.
Councilmember Sandoval?
Yes.
Mayor Donahue?
Yep.
Motion passes.
All right, sounds good, thank you. I guess, welcome back. We're glad you're still here. All right, very good. With that, we will then go receive an administrative report from Lisa Brinton, who's going to talk about the general plan and economic development. Lisa, you're on.
Yes, and the topic that I'm going to discuss is the Permit Center Annual Report for 2024. I'm Lisa
Okay.
Brinton, the Community Development Director. And this presentation is a summary of the 2024 Permit Center Annual Report covering the past calendar year. And it consists of multiple documents. It consists of the staff report, performance measures dashboard, and attachments highlighting key actions taken to implement the 2023 organization assessment findings, recommendations, and actions. So who is at the Permit Center? It's not just community development. Community development is represented by our permit services, current planning, and code enforcement divisions. But fire and public works, their fire prevention, development engineering divisions are really an integral part to Permit Center activities of application processing, plan review, permitting, and inspection. In 2024, the volume of Permit Center activity continued to rise. The number of customers served at the counter increased 12% from 2023. Building permit applications increased, those submitted increased 30%, and 17,866 building inspections were completed, which is an increase of 24% over 2023. Other divisions, under current planning, they approved 533 development applications. Fire prevention completed 2,129 inspections. Development engineering reviewed 2,908 plans. Code enforcement completed 4,829 inspections, and the Small Business Navigator assisted 482 customers. So you can see there's a high volume of activity at the Permit Center. We are a direct link to the community, and we really value customer service. So we continue to request customer service feedback from in-person clients that came into the Permit Center. And of the 172 completed surveys, 73%, or 125 clients, say that their service received exceeded their expectations. 41, or 24%, stated service met their expectations, and 6 clients, or 3%, stated that their expectations were not met. So, improving customer service is an ongoing, continuous priority, and there's always room for improvement. And in 2024, community development staff participated in communication and customer service training, focusing on techniques such as listening to understand, being mindful of tone and body language, and providing information in a clear and concise manner. In looking at some of the data, we'll see that in 2024, residential permits made up 80% of total permits applied for and 78% of all inspections. So our activity and our growth is really in the residential arena. And a component of that is ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And the number of applications and permits for ADUs continue to increase and accounted for 39% of all inspections. And I would like to highlight that since 2021, 314 ADUs have been finalized. That's 314 new dwelling units that can be considered affordable units due to their type. In addition to the increase in the number of applications, there's been a notable rise in the complexity of projects being proposed, including large distribution warehouse, commercial and medical office buildings, multifamily residential, and several city facilities. And the following slides highlight projects finalized and permitted in 2024. So you see a restaurant, Starbucks, employee services building, gas facility, restaurant, Kaiser Permanente, Frito-Lay distribution warehouse, as well as we have the Amazon facility and 50 units at Gavilan Creek Apartments. Now, what is really amazing is that the construction valuations of submitted applications was just over $565 million, which is up 500% from 2023. And the fees collected increased 300% year over year, increasing from 1.38 million to 4.4 million. So there's definitely an uptick in development activity in our community. And in the staff report, there are additional projects listed under Table 3 that really contributed to this valuation. Key actions in 2024 really focused on creating a culture of continuous improvement through implementation of the 2023 organizational assessment. And the assessment findings really focused on staffing, workflow, communication, and training. We had some successes in terms of staffing this year. 2 full-time permit clerk positions were filled, and a permit analyst position was created and filled, resulting in improved counter service and application intake. To date, however, recruitments for 2 key plan review staff and a building inspector remain vacant even after multiple recruitments, and these vacancies are shown in gold. There was a focus on training for staff in 2024, and I'd like to acknowledge that 13 certifications were obtained by staff, including residential plans examiner, building plans examiner, and 11 inspection certifications. So these plan review vacancies really have had an impact on our on-time plan reviews, which dropped from 72% in 2023 to 61% in 2024. To address that issue, we have engaged multiple consultant teams to provide needed plan review and inspection services. And the total not to exceed contract amounts of these services at this time is $3.75 million. Staff continues to work with Human Resources to explore alternative job descriptions to meet plan review resource needs. So we're not giving up. We're continuing to be creative. I'd also like to highlight that although the percentage of on-time plan reviews dropped, the number of review cycles remained constant. So 81% of permits were approved by the third review. Now, there's always room for improvement, so our target goal is to have 100% of all applications receive permits by the third review. And so staff really focused on workflow and continued communication to address that gap. For David and myself, workflow coordination really begins with communication. That is the foundation, internal and external. And the first Friday of the month, staff gather for team building, information sharing, problem solving, and training. And this occurs on a rotational basis at the division level, cross-division meetings, as well as at the department level. And with this foundation of communication, we're able then, when we come together for our permit center coordination meetings, really have discussions regarding the identification of permits with 3 and higher review cycles, which we call the hot list, and really work together to identify solutions for going forward and be on the same page internally before we reach out to meet with the applicant to identify a path forward. So we anticipate exponential growth coming in the next several years. Multiple subdivision applications have been received for development in the west, central, and east future growth areas. And when applications reach the building permit phase, the number of building permits processed will quadruple on an annual basis for the permit center. So with this in mind, as we look forward to our 2025 action plan, we're really focusing on filling our vacant positions so that we have the in-house resources to provide services, but yet at the same time acknowledge that we are going to need consultant resources in place to manage the ebb and flow of a volume. In terms of workflow, given the high volume of our residential permits being applied for, we want to create a specialized residential team to improve the delivery of these residential projects, which are so important in our community to increase our housing supply. And we would like to establish over-the-counter plan check days for limited permit review and issuance, again, to streamline the process for more simple permits that could be handled over the counter. Something that's really exciting and has the opportunity to be a game changer is the comprehensive zoning code update, which will be coming along in 2025, catching up with the general plan update. And this is really an opportunity to refine our code to provide clear, objective development and design standards, streamline processes, and provide flexibility through alternative pathways for compliance. So we really see the zoning code as an opportunity for us to continue to improve our service to the community while meeting the vision of the community for health, safety, and community appearance. So this concludes my presentation. I do want to take this opportunity to recognize that the preparation of this report was a team effort that included Assistant Director David Gonzalez, Chief Building Official Angelina Nzini, and Permit Analyst Cristina Cifuentes. And as discussed earlier this evening, Mr. Gonzalez has announced his retirement, and I just also want to take this opportunity to thank him. I wasn't going to do this, for his contributions and his leadership towards building a culture, really changing culture in our department, not just in the Permit Center, focused on service, efficiency, productivity, which are really evidence in the accomplishments of the Permit Center. So he's been an amazing asset, a colleague that I really have grown to enjoy working with and appreciate. And so just want to thank him so much for his year of service. And so glad he's not like leaving yet. I have time to adjust, right? This is my adjusting phase. So with that, Mr. Gonzalez and I are available to answer your questions. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any questions from council? I'll start with Margaret. I'll look in that direction.
Not really questions, but just comments. I think you said some magic words that I love to hear. Streamlining, training, communication, those are so important. I think that's what's been lacking in the past with our Permit Center. I was really surprised to see our survey so high on compliments, which is great, because as a community member, I hear more complaints about the permit department than probably anything else in our city, except potholes. But I think it's great that you guys, it sounds like you guys have a really thorough plan, and you know that you have to, communicate it internally, externally, and then execute. So that makes me feel really good going forward, that, because I think if people don't know what's going on, they assume nothing's happening and nobody cares. So really communicating that plan out to the community, I think, is super important, and hopefully people will take time to read the report that you put together, because I think it's really useful. And thank you again for your service, and glad you're going to be an interim for a while so we can maintain continuity, because that's super important. So thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Any questions, Gloria or Aurelio?
Well, thank you, Lisa, for the report. And mine is going to about the complaints, okay? The survey shows that they were low, but yet I keep getting calls. And they could be minor things to us, but to the business that's trying to open up a business, it could be major. And the complaints are that they have to go back various times to the Permit Center, and this is a comment. Well, why didn't they tell me? They came twice to my business. They could have told me then what I had to do, communicate it to me. Instead, the health department said yes to the kitchen, and now I'm, from the city inspector, they're not approving it, this back and forth. So I think that those are the kind of complaints that I'm receiving, the back and forth. And I know you want the feedback, because we want to make it better for everyone and anyone that goes to the Permit Center. And then you get my resident here, Mr. Serafin, that's coming tonight because he has some issues that are going on in his property, and he tried to do the best thing, built that ADU, and I know that your staff will work with him to try to get this issue fixed, because he did it because he wants to rent it out to someone that doesn't have a place to live. So I think that we need to keep communicating with our community, and the word streamline that process for our businesses and our community members that want to build these ADUs. So those are my comments, and I know we're going to try to make it better, right? For all of us. So thank you.
Any questions?
I don't want to turn this into a, let's beat up on the permit department. I hear complaints as well. And normally when I hear a complaint, usually I try to get people, I'm like, okay, well, narrow it down for me, right? Because I want to understand what it is. And sometimes I don't get that from an individual. I'm like, okay, well, you know, I can't help if I really don't understand, right? And I think what ends up happening is what I do end up hearing is, one, the permit process took too long, right? And then two, it wasn't clear to me, or in this case, the resident saying, it wasn't too clear to me as the resident what I needed to do. And so normally I'll ask like, oh, were you provided anything in writing, right? So if there's something that needs to be resolved or if there's a next step. So I've also been met with that challenge. Like, one, I'm just trying to understand what that complaint is. I'm like, okay, if you have a complaint, I want to understand what that is so I can articulate that back to the department. But I think it's really been narrowing it down to that, right? I think people they want clarity and they want something quickly. And those of you that work in the department, I think you're the ones in the best position to be like, you know, hey, let's just start reaching out and getting that understanding. And I think you'll get an influx of information and you can figure out a game plan for there. And I work often at the end of any like major program or service that we provide. You know, we do the typical SWOT at the end, you know, what worked, what didn't work, and what are opportunities and threats. And then I always go back to staff. I'm like, okay, based on what you heard or based on your experience on the staff side, you know, what recommendations do you have, right? I just turn it into a listening session. So I'm sure it's done there, and I would be interested in hearing, you know, how that goes. As far as our future growth area, right, thanks for bringing up the reality of permit requests may go up 25%, because that tells me at the staffing level, we need to be ready for that as well. So in terms of thinking ahead, what are we going to do to make sure that the staffing level is there? One thing that I think I heard you bring it up. If not, I wanted to emphasize it. You know, as people are trying to go through this whole permit process, I often wonder, is there anything that can be approved at the administrative level? Like what permits, you know, does the department feel like, hey, you know what, this is a simple request that these particular staff members can approve right here on the spot? I don't know if that might entail like fences, fixing a fence or something along those lines, but it's like, right, without having to go through like a whole environmental impact review, right? That's my planning commissioner joke of the evening. Thank you for the chuckle. Is there anything that can be approved at an administrative level, right? And I'm wondering if we can break it down that way. Is there anything that can be approved that may require management's input, right? Those of you that have been in the department long enough to be like, hey, you know what, here's a list of things that we should be able to approve at a management level, maybe within a 30, 90-day frame. Hopefully not 90 days, because I think people just want to get in and out, right? People just want to get in, pay their fee, and get out. And then lastly, like that third tier would be like, okay, what are things that are like so huge on the permit side that, you know, I don't know if it's something that merits coming to council for, like, okay, here's this big project, here's this permit request, and then it comes to council and have that, you know, have that done within a certain amount of time. Because I think that's really what we're hearing from residents. It took too long, maybe didn't know what my next steps were, how to resolve it, and then the deadline to get it done. Because sometimes I think I also hear people feel like they're having to go through the process again if they start meeting one staff member and then maybe there's a staff turnover. And then it's like starting anew because there's a new person that sees a project or request through a different set of eyes. So just want to share that. But yeah, thanks for all your work that you do.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I do have a number of questions.
Okay.
Okay, so the report highlights that we have ongoing staffing challenges, particularly with plan review vacancies remaining unfilled for up to 18 months. What strategies are being considered to attract and retain qualified personnel in these roles?
So which positions are you referring? Are you referring to current
review.
planning or plan review?
Plan review vacancies.
So yes, it has been some time that and we've done multiple recruitments. So a couple things we found is challenge with competition with the private sector. We've looked at adjusting the position to not require the same certifications, but provide the supervisory management of the consultants that we have. So David has been working directly with our Human Resource Department, so I'd like to allow him the opportunity to also respond how we've been working creatively.
I appreciate that. Morning. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Councilmember Ross, let me ask you directly. So we've been working, our HR department has been working with me directly, I want to say for more than 6 months, trying to reword how we advertise for our positions, how we are able to allow people to come in to grow, and where we're going to attract them from. The issue is what Ms. Brinton said is we're competing with a lot of the private sectors. And unfortunately, when I first began in my career, it was the reverse. You went to the private sector and then you moved into the public sector. It is now turned on its head, and it's the opposite, and we're having the same challenges that they did. What we're talking about doing is probably maybe using consultants, as we're doing for my position and others, at those key levels, to try to attract those folks. And it's just going to, we have to do something to do that. These two positions, are the senior plan checker and the plan checker, are critical to the residential team, that type of thing. Redoing the job positions, working with HR to be more creative on how we advertise, where we reach out to, social media, my personal connections with Calbo and the building officials to try to reach out to those folks. It's going to be difficult. We've been trying. We will succeed. We don't quit, and we'll figure it out. The options right now are just as consultants, and although we don't like it, we're finding a way to manage through that. So I hope I've answered your question. I don't think there's an easy answer other than just persistence.
To pull that string a little bit further, are we exploring more alternative or more flexible work arrangements, like a 980 work schedule? City of Soledad kind of has that, or a hybrid work schedule for these roles?
So we currently at the city level do not have a policy in place, so I'll defer any further comment to the city manager, but that has been a barrier in terms of remote work or alternative work schedule.
The short answer to that question is yes, we are. We're starting to have those conversations. The county's got a fairly proactive policy, and I do others as well. So engaging with Marina and the team to kind of look at what we can do and what we can bring forward to the council to get authority to move forward. But those are, we're having to look at the workplace has changed, and so we need to sort of adjust to that.
Another question, with an increase in permit applications and inspections, do we anticipate needing additional staffing beyond the current vacancies to maintain service levels in the future?
As we grow, yes, we'll need to look at that, especially as we get further along in processing future growth applications. We're at the very beginning subdivision stage, so it'll be a little while, but not too far off, before we start receiving the actual building applications, and that will be very high volume, coming not just one house at a time, but hundreds of houses at a time that will need to be turned around. So that is something that we're looking at, anticipating that we would need to either expand in-house staffing or rely on consultant. It's one of those balances, right? Because you have an ebb and flow. You may have a peak, and that's perfect for a consultant to manage those ebb and flows. Versus, when you hire a staff person, you've hired a staff person. That's a permanent cost, and whether or not work goes up or down, you still have that individual employed. So there's a mixed strategy.
And the report mentions the use of external consultants for plan review at a contract cost of $3.75 million. How does this compare to filling the cost of vacant positions, and what's the plan to transition more of that work in-house?
So what I'd like to do is ask David to break down the cost of the consultants, because some of it is carved out for a specific project to provide augmented services, and he can explain how we're using the consultants.
Thank you, Lisa. So to break down the 3.7 million, I'm going to take the big chunk off first. We all know we have a very large distribution center, and I'm going to use the word Amazon now. We were not using that before. It was a joke. I'm sorry. $2.6 million of that are being directly fed for that it's actually 2 years, but for the next 18 months, that's inspections. It was a plan check by an outside firm. It was a fire plan check review to make sure we got it out on time, to make sure that project starts and gets finished at a time that's appropriate. So I don't want to say carve that out, but a large portion of that 3.6 million is not our normal business. It's one project. We still, regardless of whether it was, we had folks on staff, would have had to hire them for simply the expertise. Very few of our folks have had that experience. I've been very blessed to have that. So I'm able to help teach them, but we had to have them no matter what. So take 2.6 and pull that off the top of that 3.7. On an ongoing basis, my anticipation, unless we fill those positions, would be roughly $2 million a year. For others outside, they're extremely expensive. So the remaining of that this year is True North had 400,000. That's plan check services purely. Sums Coda had 200,000. Wildan was 200,000. Four Leaf was 250,000. And we are using those as a strategy to find out who can perform. I know them all personally, and they know the expectations that I have personally, as well as our team, support and performance. And we're paying them high dollar. We expect them to do their job. So we have them to allow them to either succeed or we move on to the other. And Angeline, the building official, is managing that. We have our permit center folks. We've hired two permit clerks or the permit manager that are managing those to make sure that they're on time, they're tracked, and we don't lose track. It is, I won't say twice as much work. It's far more work to manage the consultants to keep that straight than it is to have in-house. I think all of us feel the same way. We'd rather have our own staff. Eventually, I think we'll get there if we're persistent and we just are diligent in how we go and approach it. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you. On-time plan review rates declined from 72% in 2023 to 61% in 2024. What specific measures are we taking in 2025 to reverse this trend, and what are these declines attributed to in particular?
So it's most directly attributed to the lack of in-house staffing. And so as we've discussed, we've been using consultants to augment, and we're also working with human resources to creatively find ways to fill these positions so that we can have the in-house staff to provide the over-the-counter simple permit services. We can find these tiers of what is more administrative and streamlined to then increase the on-time review and shorten those periods.
The report indicates that there was a 500% increase in construction valuation and a 300% increase in the fees collected. How is the permit center ensuring that increased revenue is reinvested to enhance operations?
So the permit center, all fees collected are for service. So it's not a we're an enterprise fund. So it goes back into the functions of the permit center, be that we carve out money from the fees we collect for technology, for our servers, our software programs, our databases, to be able to function. It pays for the staff, our rent, our overhead, all those things. And so it's one of those things that where we can afford to pay the consultants at this point in time because we are collecting that fee for service, and the consultants do not provide service unless we've collected the fee.
Residential permits make up 80% of all applications. What steps are being taken to streamline the review and approval process for residential projects in particular?
So David has brought forward the idea, which I fully support, of creating a residential team, which really focuses on streamlining those residential processes and moving those through the pipeline. You know, we found, like with the volume, it's easy for projects to get lost or applications to get lost. Even our own city facility projects can get lost. And so it's important for us to kind of start separating and tracking the different types of development separately so that we can assign teams that are really focused on moving those applications forward through the permitting process.
You mentioned the introduction of over-the-counter plan check days for 2025. What types of permits will be eligible for this service, and what impact do you anticipate on processing times for those permits?
I'm sorry, I was slightly distracted confirming my response meant David's approval. Could you repeat that, please?
Absolutely. So you mentioned the introduction of over-the-counter plan check days
Yes.
for 2025. What types of permits will be eligible for this service, and what impact do you anticipate on processing times?
Yeah, so that would be, and David can speak more to this, but I'll just list out those that come to my mind, but I'll let him augment. So those would be simple permits like solar, roofing, basic repairs are some of the initial simple permits. David could probably list off some of the other building permits.
Thank you, Lisa. Can I back up a minute? The over-the-counter permit is one segment of it. The 80% of our work, as we've analyzed with our data, focuses on, I'm not saying simple, but they're very, they're repetitive. They're not all the same, but there are similar issues. If we can get a team to focus on that, they're going to become bigger, better, faster, and more efficient at what they do. That ties directly what you're talking about and asking about the over-the-counter permits. That same team will be dedicated on certain days of the week. I've done this in other jurisdictions, and it works. I don't care what day of the week, we'll pick Wednesdays. Wednesdays are the day that we know we're separating out work for those to get them out of the mix. It's better to take that one day and crank out 200, 300 types of permits. They'll be behind the scenes too, the stuff that's going on, not just the counter. My staff will kill me if I say they got to handle that much at the front counter. I'm kidding. But my point being is those focused teams can be more efficient because they're not trying to work on a large project and a small project at the same time. And it works. It's staffing. It's our staffing that needs to be there. It's our experience, our communication that'll help residents get used to that Wednesday. They know they come in for their kitchen remodel as an example. They come in with a simple permit. They want to add a water heater compartment on the exterior to add some extra square footage to their house. A bathroom remodel. Those types of things that are simple, they're repetitive, and quite honestly, we can sit there, and if they're not quite have everything right, we can help them, guide them, they can come back, and we can give them their building permit. It is far more efficient for us to do that than to send out a plan check letter and have them come back. That's the goal. I'm going to say it, I have excellent staff. They want to succeed. We have to figure out how to give them the tools to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I want to stay. I'm not finished yet. And we aren't done with what we've started. So I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you.
Okay.
The report mentions testing AI tools for plan review and inspection scheduling. Can you provide a little bit more detail on these efforts and the expected benefits for both applicants and staff?
I couldn't quite hear you. Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'll speak more into the mic, sorry. The report mentions testing AI tools for plan review and inspection scheduling. Can you provide more details on these efforts and the expected benefits for applicants and staff?
Yeah. So, would you rephrase that, please?
There was mention of using and implementing AI specifically for plan review and inspection scheduling.
AI, okay.
Yes.
I'm going to say, so I've explored that. Our team has asked a company to come in, and we've actually sent out some sample plan check reviews to see if we could get back at least a basic understanding. The problem is that it's a computer, and it doesn't understand the human complexes of a certain set of plans. We've explored it, and we've looked at it. We are going to keep doing that. Is a tool that is possible. The technology today and what I've experienced and looked at, we've explored, it's not there yet. But doesn't mean we're not looking. We have people coming in. We're always exploring new ideas. I believe in the next 5 years it'll get there. It'd be nice to have it say, yes, we're going to use it next year. My goal was to just see, can we get the rough ones out? Can we get that basic plan check out to them and have it instantly? It's pretty close. And it was so inaccurate, it created more issues, what I saw. And they're just not there yet. The technology's close, but I don't think it's going to be there for a period of time. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I still have more questions. The code enforcement team saw a 28% increase in inspections. How has this impacted staff workload, and are there plans to increase resources for this division?
Take it. I can stay up here. So code enforcement's a whole different profession and approach. It's community service, really. It's about community standards, I guess is the word I want to use. That increase is a matter of us going out and trying to help and pointed to the vendor control and that type of thing. We are having some difficulties attracting staff there as well. HR is working with me and our team to try to redo some job descriptions to try to help solve that. We, again, reached out to some vendors, some consultants to try to help with an issue that the council knows about is unpermitted vendors. It's worked for a very specific line item. It is not going to work in the same aspect with those code enforcement officers' plan check review. I've tried it before and it just doesn't work. They don't have the same commitment and the same understanding of what our community expectations are. And it creates more problems than it does create solutions. So we've got to track what we have. We have 6 funded positions in code enforcement, a supervisor, and the supervisor, and as well as a manager, as well as support staff. They can handle the workload, the 28% increase, as long as we adjust and change our technologies and how we use those. There is some ability with artificial intelligence to help do some things from your computer desktop. That also is problematic because it finds things that really aren't there. So we're exploring AI as well as on that aspect. It's just going to take putting the right people in processes and putting very strict days of the week to work on certain things, and then districts is what we're looking at. But until we get that full team together, we really can't jump into that aspect of being more efficient. But they are working hard to try to do that. Did I answer your question?
Yes. And then the city's undertaking a comprehensive zoning code update in 2025. What are some of the key issues with the current code that this update aims to resolve?
I got it.
Go ahead. I'll add.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry,
I'll
I'm
just
keeping you
talk
well
correctly, be
employed well past your
respectful.
retirement.
Okay, so you asked about the code updates for 2025?
Yes.
Let's say this politically correct. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Start.
I'll start. So it's cumbersome. Our code is confusing. It has extensive cross-references that are hard to follow. And so that's just at the base. And it leaves a lot of subjectivity, a lot of interpretation, both to the applicant designer as well as staff. And so you can end up with different interpretations of what the requirement is. So with our zoning code update, we have the opportunity to really create the tiers that Councilmember Salazar was referencing in terms of what is administrative, having different levels of approval, but really coming up with those objective design guidelines and standards that are clearly illustrated and described that set the parameters for staff to confidently make decisions and for the applicants to know what the expectations are and what the options are for getting to where they want to go. Yeah, go ahead.
So, two different lanes. Entitlement, which is your planning, building code. And there's cross confusion sometimes of which is the issue for applicants. Our zoning code is a huge opportunity. I'm going to encourage all of you to help get that. I've had the pleasure of taking care of 4 of those and updating them. And to Councilmember Salazar's point, that is possible. It is doable, and it can become very clear, like our director said, how we illustrate what the community has to do to get a project through. Those lanes of staff level approval, administrative approval, management level, and then planning commission / council are very clear if you can delineate those. It is not an easy task. It takes community support and buy-in. The other side of what you're saying is every 3 years, the building code gets more complex, more code requirements, more frustration from the community, and brings higher costs. It is relentless. I've been doing this for 35 years, and it's nothing changes. Every 3 years, that cycle gets more difficult to try to explain to the applicant, well, you did this last year, you can't do that this year. And it's not something we have control over. All we can do is control how we explain that to our community members. And it will not get easier, will not get less expensive. How we message that is really important. And I've tried to instill that in our staff. So to answer your question, I think that clarity with the zoning code, and then coupled with that is trying to help people understand the differences between the lanes will help. And your help with that, when they ask you those questions, is imperative. We're here to help. And I know that people don't think that sometimes, but ask them to come visit us. They'll have a different attitude about it, I guarantee you. So anyway, did I answer, hopefully?
Yes, thank you. One last question.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll just stand.
New state laws such as AB 42, AB 1132, and SB 379, just to name a few, will impact permitting processes. How is the permit center preparing to implement these changes efficiently, particularly with the incoming development in the future growth area?
Okay. You start.
Yeah, I'll say it's a struggle. I'll be very blunt. We're struggling to keep up with all the new requirements that have been thrown on not just processing. We have SB 330, we have SB 35 to add on top of that, let alone all the legislation that has come down regarding accessory dwelling units. So we rely on a legal counsel, on our outside legal counsel, to help guide us through the process. And in some cases, we have to rely on outside consultant support in planning to help us undertake the review and processing of the applications to make sure we're following those requirements, because we don't necessarily have the checklist or the application fee or whatever the legislation is mandating in place. So that's something that we also need to be incorporating into this zoning code update, is legislative compliance and playing a big game of catch-up to address those issues.
Thank you, Director Brinson and Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay. Councilmember Barrera, Councilmember Sandoval, any questions from your end?
Yes, sir, thank you. Well, there's no doubt you're changing culture, and congratulations on your report. You know, in looking at this zoning code update, and thank you in your report, you're inviting this council to support you and find ways of how we can be a part of efficiency. You know, in this city, we have a lot of professionals, and in looking at your zoning code update, you mentioned community stakeholders, well, professionals in all levels will be able to participate. Can you tell me how we are inviting these individuals to participate with us?
So we have, we're still at the stage where we're selecting the consultant that is going to be working with us. But once we identify the selective consultant and council approves a contract, the first step will be working with them to develop a community engagement strategy, which would be identifying all the stakeholder groups that we need to connect with and identifying the method how we will be connecting with them. And so we're envisioning that there would be an oversight committee that would have representation from all the stakeholder groups, but that we would then have other direct stakeholder meetings in addition to surveys and other opportunities to provide feedback.
Yeah, well, these stakeholders, as you say, consultants, will they be volunteers or you're going to pay them? As they're coming together to assist?
Yes, it would be a volunteer effort in terms of serving on an oversight committee or participating in a focus group to provide feedback.
Yeah. You know, I was looking at those two positions that have been open for the last 18 months. And you're mentioning we're competing with private industry. As government, I don't think we can, but are we looking at different? It sounds like these 5 consultants that you have at 3.7 million, do you think that's just going to be the norm? Is that what we're looking at because it is difficult to hire staff, do you think we're just going to be ongoing hiring consultants, and is that cost effective?
So I don't think there will be an overnight cutting of the cord with consultants. But I do see a long-term. We need to develop a long-term strategy as to how we are going to staff our department. And that can be, there are many different angles. As the city manager said, there's a receptivity to look at, remote work, alternative work schedule, things that the private sector is currently offering, especially post-COVID, that individuals are seeking. We can also undertake compensation studies. We can look, as Mr. Gonzalez said, to fill these positions more from a perspective of growth, filling them at a lower level with the commitment to train up in the organization. So those are all strategies that we're working with human resources on to fill the positions in-house. But with the future growth area and that volume, I do not see us cutting off consultants in the near future. There's going to be a need for consultants, even if it's just for that level of technical expertise.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And I know this council has supported you as far as trying to put up some money to hire qualified staff, but let me put you on the spot here. How is it that this city council can support you? Because it's a daunting challenge here. I mean, you got a lot of things, and like you mentioned earlier, every so many years, laws change, something that we're not in control of. But the things that we are in control of, where do you see that the city council can support you? Because we need you to succeed. I mean, that's just a given. So how do you see us as a body up here to say, this is what I need from you folks?
I would say it's messaging. It starts with messaging and communicating the message of our culture change, that we're seeking pathways to yes. We want to hear honestly, we want to receive the complaints. We want to address issues. We want to fix them. And I think there's, I don't think I know, there's a reputation that we need to combat, and we need your assistance in combating that reputation, putting it in perspective, putting it in the right perspective, that we are imperfectly working towards imperfection, but continued growth. Because it's never going to be a perfect process, right? Never going to be perfect, but there's always that forward movement and that change that we're striving for. And that's the messaging that would be very helpful.
Well, I think this report, and this is my last question, just your report, 73% of high performance from the survey response says something here. There'll always be critics. I mean, we have critics. We even criticize other people. My question is, I guess the satisfaction is that when that individual has come to your table, that we can honestly say we've done our best work for that person. Do you feel, just from last year, and in reading your report, I think, I'm going to answer my own question here. It seems like we're improving.
Yes.
Even though you have a very daunting challenge in front of you, and you need to hold on, Mr. David, there. What do you see, one or two areas that you feel that, you know what, we've really made an impact? It's changed. The culture has changed. We made a difference.
You know, a lot of the work starts internally. To be able to provide the external customer service, you have to have the internal communication and service between the divisions. And so I think for me, I've seen a transformation in terms of attitude, cooperation, communication between divisions to work more effectively instead of finger pointing. I think in '23, when I first came director, I came into a situation where there was a lot of finger pointing. It was always somebody else that was causing the glitch in the system. And through work, and I'd have to give David high praise, that environment has changed. And I think that's the foundation for us to go forward and continue to improve and have that goal of improving our service to the community.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sandoval.
Yeah. You mentioned the oversight committee. Could you talk a little bit more about how that will develop, or what the scope? Is that a conversation that will come to council to help develop that, or how do you foresee that happening?
So again, a little bit to be determined. That hasn't been fully outlined. That will be something that is developed in conjunction with the consultant. We can definitely bring that forward, share that with the council for feedback. And as we bring the consultant scope of work forward, we want, again, as David has said, this is really critical that this is a partnership of all community stakeholders. And this opportunity to affect change through zoning code update that's comprehensive doesn't come around. Our last update was 2008. So it's every couple decades you have this opportunity. So we definitely want council input, we want stakeholder input, and making sure we have all the right representatives at the table.
Yeah, and that's my question. As we go forward, I want to know how we can really have a robust participation from all types of stakeholders, not just one group or another, residential and commercial. So, yeah, I'd be interested in getting updates so we can move that forward. I heard $2.6 million for Amazon. Carve that out. Is Amazon covering the cost of those $2.6 million, or?
Amazon, that's fully funded by them. There's zero general fund. It's all supported by their fees and both their permit and their plan check fees. Additionally, any augmented requests that they've asked for, they're paying for. It is not being augmented by the general fund nor any other permits. And we're watching that extremely close.
Yeah, thank you. And as people go through the process, at what point does the upper management, let's say there's an issue, right? You heard some of my colleagues say, they have to go back and they have to go back. At what point does somebody else in the organization get notified or pinged that there's an issue so that they don't necessarily have to come to us to address those issues? Have we developed those matrix or plans?
So one of the things that when I took the time to listen and watch as I got settled in was seeing at what point was it appropriate for us to step in and trying to let staff grow and make those decisions, give them their boundaries. Hey, here's your operational area, make your decision, stay in there. And so the answer, let me give you a building permit. plan check review example. There's a reason why that slide was up there with those 3 plan check reviews. That's my threshold. At the 3rd review, I want to know what's wrong. That's when it pings one of us, and I'd prefer it to be my building official and others, but for now it's us, to start reaching out to ask. It's not always just the plan check comments. It is sometimes, and I'm just going to say it openly, the designer. It might be they're not listening to the plans, they don't understand them, or the owner wants something different than what's being portrayed on the plans. At that point, you need to figure out, why isn't this done? And that's the sit down, that's the hot list that we talked about. And it pings us, and there's a meeting every 2 weeks to find out, why isn't this moving forward? What's the problem? Sit down, and why are we having a meeting? So that's when it pings at that level. On the planning, we're still working through that. It's going to be the same process. If it's that certain amount of time, depends on the type of permit. It's going to ping up the management, find out, why are we not moving this through? What is the holdup? Is it us not understanding, or is it the applicant not working with us? Or do we just need to sit down and figure out, let's go this way instead of straight? So I hope I've answered that.
Yeah, do we have any way of tracking, let's say, for example, new business is coming and their open date is November 1st? You know, is there, you know, when they start the process, are they given a timeline, or do we track a timeline to see how those permits move along?
Not individually. Our system is imperfect, and we're improving that. The Track It system does have some ability to say there's a deadline. It's more on the planning side, it's more difficult, because it's I won't say it's nebulous. It's a far more difficult thing to determine what a person is trying to design and get through. We're working on a process to identify how to kind of separate those out into lanes. We just haven't figured out how it works simply yet. But it's something that Lisa and I are both working on with our planning manager, trying to make a simpler process for that. I know it's not the answer you really want, but we're working on it.
No, I just want a magic wand, but you mentioned a residential team. That gets me really excited, right? That could come in the future. Same thing, you know, has there been consideration for a business team as well? You know, once you get people to narrow their scope and really fine tune their skills, then we can move things along. Has that been a discussion?
By default, that's what's going to end up happening.
Okay. So sounds
Yes,
like
sir.
a yes. All right, great. And then, you know, talking about code enforcement, you know, I think all our council has received emails, and there's been public comment about the moving from just a complaint-driven code enforcement to a proactive code enforcement. Will those discussions happen in the future, or what's your thinking around that?
I'm happy to answer. Okay. We need to make some adjustments in how we operate first, internally. Have a great group of people. We just need the right team assembled, and then set some lanes up. Again, I'm going to point to HR. They've been helping us trying to get some positions, the job descriptions redone, and how to create some latitude and some growth. We'll get there. Once that happens, that shift and change in how we operate can occur. But until we get a team, they're normalized in how they operate and the procedures are set, you can't make that next step. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but it's the truth.
So I'm going to add a little to that. That all needs to occur, and then we'll have a conversation with the council. Because once we shift, if we shift from complaint-driven code enforcement to proactive code enforcement, you're going to get more complaints and more messages. That's just the reality. So that might be where we need to be and we need to go to get our community used to it. So we will have that conversation with you once we have the appropriate makeup in the team. Then we'll have the conversation with you. And what does that actually really mean?
Right.
So yeah, so it will come back to the council.
All right. Well, thank you. I do. That is the answer I want to hear, because it shows that we're recognizing where we have some room for growth, and that we have a plan to address it. My last question is, as we have those discussions from code enforcement, have we ever considered moving, how can we get equitable code enforcement across the city? You know, I know the police department has like beats, right? Has that been a discussion that's ever been had?
So again, that ties back to setting up your teams. Right now, we have, 5 positions, a code enforcement 1, 4 filled, and actually soon it's going to be 3 filled. So we need to first set up the structure with the 2 teams. So we have the senior 2 code enforcement 2s that are overseeing the lower level code enforcement officers so that they can be assigned a focus. We're looking at this not just with the residential, but we're taking this concept of establishing focused teams across multiple divisions so that we can create those efficiencies and breadth of service.
Thank you. That concludes my questions. I have saved the rest for comments.
Thank you. All right. All right, we will go out to the public for any comments.
Good evening. Name is Eric Peterson, and I would like to specifically address alternative work schedules, FlexiPlace, things like that. As most of you know, I used to work for a federal agency. What most people don't know is that federal agency is very well represented by National Treasury Employees Union, a very good federal union. And when the subjects of FlexiPlace and things came up, what NTU would typically do in negotiations is simply outsmart management. So over management's kicking and screaming, we had a pretty good FlexiPlace program there. I could work at home most days, or there were others on better schedules. And where I'm going with this is I got more done. I didn't have to listen to discussions of the 49ers game. I didn't have to do that. I could look up something. I had my own resources at home. And my guess, I have no empirical data on this, but my estimate is I got 3 times as much done. And one of the characteristics of my job is I had to be right, because if I wasn't right, there were sharp attorneys who would eat me alive, and that wasn't fun. And I would urge the city we had a lot of battles over this. We had the negotiations, we had managers who didn't think they had to follow the contracts, stuff like that. And I would urge the city to make it easy, and it'll pay off, as it did for me. And that's just, I guess, down to the basics, would benefit Salinas. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, staff. First off, my name is Alex Reynoso. I'm a local architect here in town. And just glad to see the report. I think it's very promising, and I think there's a lot of truth and great stuff that's happened, and I want to congratulate you. Glad to see that you're going to stick around with us for a little longer. We've seen the difference. I think the culture change is real. But change is going to take a little while. So a lot of folks that have embedded in doing their work a certain way, reading the zoning code, the building codes, and have their interpretations sometimes. I've been fortunate to be able to have gone to them about the situation that was a little sticky, and we got past it. And I see it, I believe it. Keep trusting them. I think they're going in a good path, and I think they are honest about where they want to end up and really, get us to where we need to be. I've shared with some of you in the past, probably something with some good stuff, some bad stuff of how permits are done and has it gone faster, this or that. But to me, when I heard streamline, I heard success. And when I hear success, I hear more successful businesses, more people in homes, and I also see and hear more tax dollars for the city. So, great job, keep at it. I know there's more work, but changing the culture is the right place to start. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, Marianne.
Marianne Warden.
First of all, our Bible says, the fourth commandment, to love our neighbors as ourselves. Yet when we come down here to complain, we're supposed to complain about someone parking on the crosswalks for hours, and the city won't do anything about it when they see it. This is when they're seeing it. And when they pointed out that they're there. That's wrong. When a code enforcement sees someone parking on a crosswalk or on the end of the streets on a red zone and do nothing about it, when they've been told, look, they're parked there, what are you going to do about it? Because some of us cannot even turn into our street on a Saturday night in the summertime. My other thing is the permit center. Now, I'm not here to point any particular finger at any particular person, because every person I spoke to treated me very nicely, except I never got the correct answers. The answers I got from one person was not the same as the other person. For 4.5 years, I tried to get a room added to my house. 4.5, even before her. So, I mean, she really tried to help me. I'm not complaining. Only to find out that after I had my design and everything, it was a contractor that was supposed to go after my permit. Now, I was asked to tear down a building, tear down the drive, when other people have not had to do this. This is my complaint. The right hand does not know what the left hand's doing there.
Okay, thank you, Mary Ann.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor. Luis Chago Juarez for Building Healthy Communities. And in the discussion and in the presentation, thank you so much for the details around it. You know, a lot of times, or in the past, the experience hasn't been as detailed, and a lot of information gets lost or just overlooked. And then, of course, when I hear cultural shift, you know, I hear this attempt, a sincere, earnest attempt to really center a community that, you know, is for a big part is monolingual Spanish speaker and monolingual indigenous speakers. And with that, you know, it's the gauge around the engagement. And Lisa, you know, we're all about this, building healthy communities. There's a spectrum of engagement. There's five steps to it. 0, it goes from 0 to 5. 0, we can completely ignore the folks, right? Oh yeah, we're getting our stuff done. We don't really, you know, just make it look like there's some type of engagement. 1, you inform. You just inform. Step 1, yeah, we put a flyer out. You know, so many people came. All right. 2, there's tokenization. The tokenization gets a little slippery around the tokenization. Yeah, we have some of these community groups. They signed on. Let's go. Let's move. 3 is actual participation of our community. You know, some genuine engagement where they're putting up their stickers. 4 is that collaborative involvement with groups and businesses. And then 5, deferment to our residents, such as Mary Ann Warden, deferring to them. Our experts, our lived experience. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else from the public? All right, we will come back to council for...
2 on Zoom.
Oh, 2 on Zoom, I'm sorry. I never stick, okay. Okay, Elizabeth Camacho, please.
Yeah. Hi, good evening again. First and foremost, I'm super excited that there is a planned review / update, hopefully soon, because my general comment is regarding that. My partner and I inquired about obtaining a permit for a standing seam metal roof on our single family home. It's not a crazy request. We actually chose this roofing system after a lot of research for its sustainability, longevity, enhanced fire safety, practical benefits. I mean, I could go on and on. Our property borders the fields on Baranda, so if you drive down Baranda, you're going to see grass growing every other roof. So it's also a very significant investment in our property, so we want to make sure we do it right. When we contacted the department, Mr. Bobby Latino not only dismissed our inquiry with a simple "can't be done," but he pretty much ended the call abruptly without providing any explanation or citing any relevant city ordinance that would prohibit this type of roof. And it's concerning to me, given that there's a precedent for such roofing in our city, as a home on Boston Street within a mile from my house has the same type of a roof that was permitted in 2019. So I'm glad that this is being looked, because it is so subjective to anyone that picks up a permit on how they interpret the code. In the last couple of months, I've gotten really, really good at reading the municipal code. I mean, I read it to my kids a bedtime story. So I am just really excited that the city's actually looking at being and willing to research and hopefully discuss some alternatives on some of the code that we can all agree is very much outdated. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Dayton, we were waiting for you. You're on.
Kevin Dayton, Government Affairs Liaison for the Salinas Valley Chamber of Commerce. A couple times it was mentioned, it seems like we're improving, and I can tell you, if you look in the context of history going back to the beginning of the post-Great Recession reform of the permit center in 2013, the Citygate report, there has been a lot of improvement. Actually, the improvement in the reports that you get each year from the permit center, it's outstanding. From 2013 to 2021, the city council will get intermittent and inconsistent reports. But starting in 2021, there were some fundamental changes. Some of the things that I think the business community appreciates is you're now showing, instead of moment in time data, you show multi-year data, so that the public, businesses, and the city council can actually see trends over time. That's great. I like how the distinctions are being made between applications, approvals, issued permits, and final permits. That's something that you don't see at many cities and counties when they do their permit reports. One thing you should be bragging about is the success in promoting and assisting your accessory dwelling unit program. From 2007 to 2018, the city only gave out permits for 24 ADUs. So there's been a tremendous change in that. And I ask other cities, can you provide me with the ADU permits? And they can't even give the kind of statistics that Salinas does. It's great. I like how the city is preparing for the future. It's got an action plan. It's going to do this zoning code update. I love the slogan, Pathways to Yes, that it's using. That's very positive for the business community. And we're going to have an article in the Salinas Valley Chamber of Commerce Business Journal, putting it in proper perspective about the permit center.
Is that a period or a comma? Okay. Thank you, Kevin. I thought there was more to come. All right, very good. All right, we will bring it back to council for final comments, and I'll start over to my right this time. Councilmember Sandoval.
Yeah, I know when Lisa was giving the statistics about the ADUs, I wanted to cheer. You know, that is a big accomplishment. You know, there's no doubt, as my colleague Tony will always say, there's amazing strides going on in our permit center. I remember when I first got elected, I thought, oh my goodness, how are we going to tackle this monstrosity of a issue? But we are chipping it away. You are chipping away at it. And David, I know you have been a big factor in the culture shift. I think I mentioned it to Lisa a couple meetings ago. I met with the developer, said for the first time in 40 years, we felt like the permit center was trying to actually help us and make our life easier. So I could see it, not just with that, I've seen it with other businesses as well. I mean, you heard Alex over here speak to that. that culture shift is key to making a lot of the things happen. You're right. I really appreciate the honest conversations about our struggles, and we have a long road ahead of us, but I'm glad to see that we have a plan. I'm glad you're not going anywhere, David. I could see, you know, the big impact you've had, not only just because Lisa has said it, but I've heard it from community members. And I keep hearing the name David, and I go, yes, I know he's doing a great job. So just very encouraging to see all the work your staff is doing. And we are cranking out more permits, and we're doing better, and we're going to keep improving. And I will, you know, I keep telling people there's a culture shift that will take some time. But I appreciate our city manager and your staff as well. You know, when I forward concerns about a business or things like that, that, you know, you're very receptive. I know the mayor and I have recently met with Northridge Mall, who, you know, expressed some room for improvement. And, you know, it's something that really affects our community, not just for those businesses, but it's a tax base. It affects those potholes. It affects a lot of different things. Not only that, the delays affect people's pocketbook. If you're a business, and especially if you're a small business, you do not have a reserve. If you plan to open a month, you know, on a specific month, and you're delayed a month or two, I mean, that's enough to close a business. Some of these businesses, you know, put their life savings into this dream of a business. So working to try to move those along is crucial. That's why I think, you know, I know that by default you'll have a business-specific group, but, you know, residential as well. You know, if they're trying to build that ADU and there's a delay, that could be a month of rent that, you know, they need to pay that loan that they pulled out to build that ADU. So I want to thank you for all the progress you've made, and don't go nowhere, David. You know, you're an integral part of what we need, and thank you for all your work, Lisa. And I know you've made significant strides along with your team. Thank you both.
Yeah. And Ms. Lisa, you don't go nowhere either.
Yes.
We need you here. Well, you heard from our public. Mr. Peterson wants a Trader Joe's. We got to get that. You know, Mr. Reynoso, Alex Reynoso, who spends a lot of time in your building, for that man to give you a compliment, you can't buy that. It's, we want to say thank you to Mr. Reynoso, and I think these are the types of individuals that we need on our team, because they can see all the, you folks are the only ones that understand what goes on in there. From out here, it's easy to criticize. How come you're not taking care of this person? But I want to read something that one of your customers said here in your report. It says, they, which is your staff, took the time to explain and answer all of my questions. I was extremely nervous, and I want to focus on that. You know, I think a lot of people go in that place and they're nervous. We got to help them with that. As the city manager always is, he's been here 7 months and he's been talking culture shift. And I didn't quite understand what that man is telling me about culture shift, but I'm looking at the fruition of his vision because I heard it today. But you know what? As people go over there, all they want is to fix their room. They want an ADU. They need somebody that can take the time and explain it. I tell our city manager, I says, you know what? I know you hire people already with a lot of credentials. They come with a lot of certification, professionalism. But start hiring people that like people. Because you know what? You can hire brains, but you need heart in our industry because we're a people business. We need people to go in there and feel, even though sometimes we can't help them, but at least they know we tried. I think that's critical. And you know what, Ms. Brinton, this report is fantastic. I really enjoyed seeing this, and I know we have, well, you know what, your business is critical. It's, that thing is not easy. It's just, that's just the nature of that beast. But I think what you're doing is great, and we want to say thank you to Human Resources, because they play a big role, get those people hired. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Tony. Jose?
Just wanted to thank, again, the community development planning staff for the report. I actually really do enjoy reading these reports. It does not keep me up at night for all the wrong reasons. I love reading it, love writing my notes on this. But also wanted to give a kudos and shout out to the Small Business Navigator program, who also helps support, small businesses with, some of these basic permit navigations, communicating to them, helping them understand where they might not be, as clear on with certain policies and procedures. So that's another, key asset that I hope, and program that I hope keeps expanding as we move forward. And lastly, yeah, and then lastly, again, just wanted to reiterate our kudos to Mr. Gonzalez for continuing his service and, seeing a lot of these projects through. When you were answering my questions, it was very, very clear to me how involved and just the shoes that your next, the incoming person is going to have to fill. It's a big role, and, again, thank you, and I don't think we'll ever be able to stop with the thanks for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret.
All right, well, I appreciate everybody's comments. I agree with those. I think it sounds like you two make a really great team, and happy to hear that you enjoy your staff and you know how important communication and training is, because I think that's going to be the key to success going forward, along with the culture change. I'm really interested to hear about the Oversight Committee when that comes to fruition. I think that's great. The more community involvement and engagement we can have, the better we're going to be going forward. And I look forward to touring the center and learning more about how the permit process works. I haven't been able to do that yet, so that's definitely on my to-do list. I agree with you, Councilmember Burr, that whole process can probably be really intimidating. It would scare the heck out of me. So I think just like you said, holding their hands, really treating them right, and making sure that every job, no matter how large or small, gets treated with the same kid gloves. I think that's really important. You obviously have a very complex department. There's a lot going on over there. So thank you for hanging in there, making it work, and always doing everything with a smile. I appreciate that. Thanks for the great report.
I also want to thank all of you. Mr. Gonzalez, thank you. And again, it's like we're all saying the same thing. It's about engaging. The word engagement is very important. Engaging with the community, giving them, it's about good customer service, right? We all want to do that. So we should, if we need to work on it. And again, the word streamlined, because it's important to them. Councilmember Sandoval mentioned that. It's very important to small businesses that they get what they need, because that's their business. They can't, be leaving their businesses. Who's going to run them? Especially in the LSL. You have one person. So again, those are the issues that are very important. And I met with some of the Suba businesses, and of course, they're very concerned right now about, the state of our economy right now. A lot of them are not making it. They had to close their businesses over there. And also, right now, the economy is affecting them. So, saying that, I just want to make sure that when the consultant comes in the community engagement, that it does come back to us, the council, so we can give feedback on how we want to see that happen. So that's very important, that everybody gets that information. And let's see what else. Keep moving forward, and let's turn it around, because I remember Mr. Reynosa from the past that, there was some negativism years ago. We want to change it. We want to be able to be proud when a business comes in and they say, I want to do business in Salinas. I don't want to go to Marina or Watsonville, because before that's the way it was. They didn't want to come and do business in our permit center. So we need to change that. And I know you've done some good things, but let's keep working on that, right? Together we can make it better. So thank you.
Aurelio.
Yeah. I would just emphasize, your career was all about this, right? Like at some point in your life, this is what you wanted to do. And if anything that I would want to share tonight is, don't be afraid. Don't ever be afraid to think outside the box, right? As these issues kind of continue to come up, and I think we're constantly in refinement mode, right? I mean, there's always some sort of change that needs to happen, and with you and your staff, those that have been, around the block a while, I always tell my staff at work, sometimes you just kind of need to shut the door, take your staff outside of the office and have that meeting and hash things out. Like, okay, like tackling issues one at a time. And, I would never hesitate to do that, right? Because you have staff that are interacting with the members of the public on a day-to-day basis. And so you have people who are clearly, their eyes and ears are and their boots are on the ground. And so you just have, all this community knowledge at your disposal, and meeting with them, I think it will help address some of these things that we have brought up tonight. I know that, I feel like just in general, people want a permit center that's open, ideally, right, 24 hours, or, that whole Monday through Friday. I did hear those comments about maybe having a particular day dedicated, a particular service. That might be challenging for that one person or that small, business or individual that can't make it on that one day. So, just feel free to be creative. You have a city manager that, supports you and your work. In terms of again, those day-to-day operation stuff, one thing that I did also hear from you was kind of keeping up with changes in legislation and policy. So if there's a need for a dedicated person, right, build that into the staff, right? So that you have that go-to person that, they're just strictly dedicated to keeping up, so that our people, our staff are up to date in terms of what changes may happen. Because I think I heard you say, 1 year there might be one set of requirements, and then the next year it's something else, right? So December we may have something, but January is something else. So if you have somebody coming into the permit department in the month of December, they're told one thing, and they may not know, hey, January things have changed. In terms of the AI, I always feel AI is creepy. I just stay away from AI. I'm totally fine with us holding up on that. I think in the ideal world, if we could have AI help us out with, day-to-day stuff, that's great. But yeah, I think I heard you say a couple of times, AI is not there yet. I don't think we're there yet. And very interesting stuff that you can find on social media regarding AI, but in a permit department, I'm totally fine with us not going to that AI route, but I appreciate looking into it. And then finally, again, just sometimes less is more in our work. So, let's also take a look at work in that lens as well. How can we get more out of less?
Okay, thank you. A couple of things. I like the report. I really appreciated getting an understanding of the level of complexity to get the department to meet the community's expectations, and the fact, and it's terrific to see good teamwork, because this one doesn't seem like anyone wants to take on alone. It's good to, so I thought that was quite encouraging. I think the other thing I like is, because we've talked and heard a lot about the challenges we have in today's Salinas, but we have enormous opportunities in front of us as well. And I think the thing I appreciated is you dropped some pretty good breadcrumbs. Here's the progress we met to, still not really where we want to be, but we've changed the culture and we're looking for people, and that's to get us to where we need to be. And there is somebody in this room that once said, when I was chatting with him about everything in front of us, he said, well, if you want to have any chance of any of that happening, we better fix the permit center. I heard a different set of comments tonight. So, because when I listened to your presentation, you know, we changed the culture, and I was like, well, how current is that, and does anyone know yet? So it's encouraging that people know yet. So I think that's important. But I think the other thing is, and I think it does the council and the community good, there will still be more to go because we're going to have to build the capacity to deal what's in front of us, because I think the future growth area and Amazon are just for starters. You know, and then God only knows if we get a Trader Joe's, the impact that's going to have. So, and we want one. So I liked it. It was realistic. It was honest. I think it lays out some breadcrumbs to the future. I think the one thing I would say, and I appreciate seeing the numbers, you know, if something gets to us, I'd like to think it's probably the exception, you know, as opposed to the day-to-day. But I do got to tell you, the exceptions are really exceptional that people really roll their eyes on. And so I appreciate, and I think this is also an important you know, the updating of the zoning code and why that's going to be important, because we're not necessarily going to pick up that things are open to interpretation. But what I would say, and this will just be my final comment, that from time to time, I often got the impression the department felt they were here to protect Salinas rather than serve Salinians and all of the stakeholders that are interested. And I think that's the thing, and that's where you begin to go, can't there be some common sense and some judgment? And I don't know if the kind of the conflicting elements of the ordinances cause some of that, but you know, that would just make kind of the general comment. When we hear something, like I say, you really do tend to kind of raise your eyebrows and go, you're kidding. And everything that comes to us isn't necessarily accurate. I mean, I have that, but on balance, I think you did the community. I always like to tell everyone we're the most popular city council meeting on Channel 25. I'm sure we must be. Now, that may just be because we're Salinas. So relying on that to be true, I think you did the community a service tonight to really kind of lay out where we are and where we need to go. So thank you for that. And David, glad you're around. I had never met you. I still haven't met you, but you had been accused of all sorts of good things, and seemingly they're true. So that's good to see. So, all right, there's no action required on this item. So. Yeah, you're good. So thank you for that. And with that, we're going to proceed to council member reports, appointments, and future agenda items. So I'll look to my left, and anything to report, Margaret?
Sure, I'll make it really quick. I appreciate the enthusiasm and for today's subject matter on SB 48. Coming from Agriculture Unite, I really respect the farm worker community tremendously, and I'm really glad that as council members, we were all unified in our decision to do that and move forward. I think we all want a pathway to citizenship. That's a goal, and we're not there yet. So this is at least a good step in the right direction. I appreciate all the invitations that people invite us to, either by email or coming here and letting us know what's going on in their community and things they're passionate about. And I guarantee you we try to go to as many as we can, but they are overwhelming. So I try and get out there as much as I can, especially in District 3, but focusing on the whole city as well. So a couple of things I'll be doing in my district is, let's see, meeting with Supervisor Askew is one of my first things, building that relationship with the county, which I think is really important. Spending time at the train station to hear their issues and challenges. Taking a little visit out to Ensign Park to do a hard hat tour, which I'm excited about learning more about that. And I've got AMBAG on the calendar and just went to the League of California Cities convention in Anaheim, which was fantastic. I learned so much, met some great people, got some really nice ideas that I'll be jotting down and sharing them with our city manager in the near future. But that was a great training, and looking forward to the one in April, which will be more legislative focused, but that was really great. So thank you for allowing the four of us to have the opportunity to participate in that. That was really great. And then I'll be on a housing panel for the Women's Council of Realtors this week. And I would love to hear a follow-up on the sweeps. I think that's a really critical area. I'd heard that when I was gone. I think it took place, and I did hear that everybody's products and blankets and things were destroyed, and that really is inhumane in my opinion. We've got to figure out a better system for that. So can't wait to kind of hear what our next plan is going forward so we can do a better job at that. And I think I'll leave it at that. Thanks for just a great meeting tonight. It was really informative.
Talking about sweeps, that was one of my agenda items that I would like to see. How are they being done? And I also went out to Chinatown and I talked to David Blouch, and he, gave me a lot of information and that he has. So if we could have that as an agenda item. And also, I have to say that I met with, like I said, some of the businesses from the Suva area. And they're very, very concerned about the taco truck ordinance that we have, and all these taco trucks that are all over the city, roving vendors. In the weekends, I know we're trying to do, trying to do code enforcement in the weekends. I think we have someone private that's doing that, but they're coming in from outside of other cities, and they're just parking anywhere. So I'd like to see that, a presentation to us on that ordinance. Let's see that, and you will have a lot of businesses coming to that. So those are two things. I also want to mention that I've been having a lot of phone calls. I've been going out to the community and meeting with some of the residents and just listening on their, all their concerns that they have right now. And I want to say that now for the residents from Casa de Maderas, a meeting has been set up with the residents, with Hugo and all the residents from there for May 1st. So we're going to hear the residents. So that is being run by Hugo and all the residents from Casa de Maderas. And then the next thing I have is also, I want to meet with SORT, the outreach component of the city that we have right now that's working with homelessness and vouchers, because we're being asked as we go out there. So again, that. And I also want to, I want to make a comment to everyone that's listening and all of us here. We need to really slow down in this city. There's a lot of complaints about people just zooming down our neighborhoods, zooming down streets like if we had a freeway on Natividad. That happened today when I was coming. I just couldn't believe the way this driver just passed me. He must have been going 60, 65. So again, we don't have traffic officers. I think we only have 2 for the entire city. We need them, but right now it's not happening. So we need to, as citizens, to really take this seriously. We need to slow down, really. So those are my comments. I did go to 2 meetings, and it was solid waste board. I'm on the board. And also I've been meeting with the Asian community. They want the trash cans. And I know they've been ordered, so I'll relay that message. Thank you to our city manager, Mr. Mendez. I would relay that message, okay, that they're coming. That's my report. Thank you.
Sure. So about 2 weeks ago, on Saturday, February 1st, had an opportunity to meet with one of the residents over on Newport Court a while back in December. Was able to speak with a couple of residents on Newport Court. Some of you may recall, I may have mentioned this at a previous meeting. These are the residents that been working together regarding, I think a lot of people know it as Candy Cane Lane. Again, was finally able to have a meeting with some of them to talk about lighting, traffic, and street vendors. Later on in this year, we'll probably come back with some proposed solutions. And right now we have some open meetings coming up, just so that we can continue to figure out how to work with the city on solving some of these concerns that they have. Also on Saturday, February the 8th, I had an opportunity to meet with some residents from Montebella. Again, just they reached out wanting to meet to talk about just some local resident concerns. Also on that day, on Saturday, February the 8th, had an opportunity to meet with residents from the Creek Bridge area in District 6. Had quite a full house and was able to meet with some of our residents in District 6. I've also heard from some residents over on Chardonnay Drive. For those of you who don't know where Chardonnay Drive is, it's one of the streets that runs parallel, right, or just south of Baranda Road. As you can imagine, there are people that will kind of jump off of Baranda Road and start cutting through the neighborhood, which runs Chardonnay, which runs parallel. So if you live on Chardonnay, it's been a little bit challenging there. I encourage them to attend, and I think a lot of you have seen the city announced a Baranda Road project community meeting. Just want to make sure that that those voices are also heard. So reminding them there's also an opportunity to share their concerns with us. Earlier today, I did have an opportunity to meet with Reva Feldman. As you know, she's our consultant that is helping us out with our next strategic plan. In looking at the previous strategic plan, having done strategic planning in the past, her and I, there were some things that we found that we think that could probably be finely tuned. And so when we start going through that process here, there'll be that opportunity for all of us to chime in. And to any resident that is watching or listening, anyone that isn't familiar with the strategic plan, it's kind of like one of our guiding documents in terms of what we want to do and what we envision in terms of the city. So as far as like housing, jobs, parks, and recreation, I mean, that becomes the guiding document that the council will develop, and through the city manager, it gets implemented through our respective departments. So there's an opportunity for everybody to really be part of that visioning process. And so anyone that has any input, their 2 cents or more regarding how they want to see our city, the direction that we move in, feel free to contact me. Also, just want to announce the appointment, or I'd like to appoint Juan Gutierrez to the Airport Commission. And lastly, I just want to thank some of our city staff, Patty Barajas, Jose Aurelia, Juan Carlos Ruiz, and Alexis Mejia, who were able to get me squared away with some meetings with our department heads. Some of you hopefully may have received an email that I sent to them. There's just like some general questions that I'm just asking all of our department heads. And so I think I've said this in the past, I'm not asking for a thesis, just want to have just kind of that open conversation, just so that I have a better understanding of the function and operations and responsibilities of the department. And so I think I've requested maybe half-hour meetings. If it runs to an hour and there isn't another department head lined up, that time is definitely open up to you. And then those of you that have received those questions, I typically tell folks, bullet points is fine, and then you can share with me in your own words your responses to those questions. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. All right. Jose.
So I did not have the opportunity to attend the Buckhorn Early Learning Center grand opening hosted by the Alisal Unified School District. But interestingly enough, my mom did. She is part of Mamás de Salinas Abogan. So she was recognized out there, and interestingly enough, forgets that my first name is Jose. Everyone in my family calls me Luis. So she was very confused when people were asking her about Councilmember Jose because she doesn't know me as Jose. But I'm really excited to have that facility in my district. I grew up being part of the early childhood education programs like Head Start, and those are key assets both for the development of children who don't typically have the same level of access to these educational opportunities, and also to the parents, right? These were oftentimes times when my parents had to go to work, and this helped alleviate some of that without them having to pay for additional childcare. So excited to see that being built and come to fruition in my district. Also had the opportunity to meet with the team from Comcast, particularly around the issue of broadband, and on opportunities in which we can collaborate between them and the city to expand access and move forward with our broadband master plan. So excited to see what comes of that and what different projects we're able to work on with them in a public-private partnership. I also want to give a special shout out and thanks to the PG&E crews and linemen who were working through the storm last week to restore power to East Salinas multiple times. There's anticipated adverse weather this weekend again, so just wanted to remind the community to be mindful of the times that you're going out and being aware of any downed wires and reporting them as soon as possible so that they can be addressed. I also participated in El Sausal Middle School's Career Day. This was a neat opportunity to go back to my alma mater 12 years later, and it was really good to see that my principal was still there, all of my teachers were still there, surprisingly enough. They were surprised to see me just as much as I was, but one thing that I really took away from that was that our youth really have great ambitions and great dreams for the city. Regardless of what happens politically or educationally for them, a lot of them have great ambitions to go out and study and come back to their community and exercise their professions. And I was even more surprised to see that many of these young middle schoolers were actually wanting to be business owners instead of going directly to a traditional college pathway. So looking forward to seeing how we can help support those dreams, and I hope that we do justice by them, because even though we're building a future now, the future really, they're the ones that are going to inherit the future that we leave behind, right? Whether that's the permit center, the infrastructure, even the problems that we leave behind, they're the ones that are going to inherit them. So I hope we do justice by them and moving the needle on all those issues. For example, economic development, making sure that they do have that opportunity to come back to their city where they grew up and exercise their profession. Notably, I want to end off with a particular quote that Mayor Donahue says, imagine a great city. And when I imagine a great city, and I was there with the students at El Sausal Middle School, I couldn't imagine a greater city to be in better hands than the hands of our youth. They have, amazing ideas for when I mentioned the East Area specific plan and how that was still under development, how they still have an opportunity to provide their input. They have lots of ideas on the different types of, facilities they'd like to see, and I look forward to seeing that in the future. I also continued participating in the county's Immigrant Rights Ad Hoc Committee alongside a few of my colleagues here, and would also invite anyone else who wants to participate. I'm happy to step off, on an alternating basis so that other council members have the opportunity to participate. Wanted to make note that there is an immigration Know Your Rights Forum at Al Saud High School tomorrow. There's two components to that. From 5 to 6 p.m. there's a community resource fair. The presentations start at 6 p.m. and there will also be attorneys there who will be providing legal counsel and other form preparers who will help parents fill out contingency plan forms for their students should any enforcement action take place. Want to remind the community that we do have upcoming community meetings, particularly around the Baranda Road expansion project. This is a great opportunity to bring up your concerns around lighting, pedestrian safety, vehicular safety, and just the overall environmental and built design of the Baranda Road expansion project. And want to make a few asks of the council today. I would like to request a letter of support be written to Attorney General Bonta to file criminal charges against Shangri-La executives for mismanaging the city of Salinas' funds and leaving 2 Project Homekey sites incomplete and our community out millions of dollars without facilities and without services that were promised to our residents. This is about holding people accountable for their actions. They didn't just mismanage our funds, they embezzled the funds. So I think this warrants criminal action, and we should really send a letter of support. The County of Monterey has submitted a letter to the Attorney General to file these charges before the statute of limitations runs out, and I'm hoping to get a letter of support. I'd also like to request an additional letter of support for Assembly Bill 49, the California Safe Haven Schools and Child Care Act to protect immigrant children from immigration enforcement at schools and child care centers, filed by Assemblymember Al Marzouchi. This particular bill expands on the protections on school sites, but also expands them to child care facilities. As it stands, ICE could potentially carry out immigration enforcement and pick up, children or their parents at a home-based or center-based child care facility, and our families and our residents don't need that additional concern in their lives. And lastly, would like to bring back a presentation before the council, particularly on what our plan is to be proactive about parking enforcement as it pertains to the new daylight law, which prohibits parking within 20 feet of curbs. I would like to know what our plan is moving forward and what that implementation is going to look like to ensure that there is equitable enforcement throughout our city, particularly in East Salinas. There's often many issues with cars being parked for weeks or months on end without having been moved. So I would like to see a presentation on that. And just to end off, I want to wish a happy birthday to my padrino, my godfather, and my madrina for celebrating their anniversary on February 5th. I just want to thank them for guiding me and providing all their love to me throughout the years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Tony?
Good things are happening in Salinas. Mr. Mayor and Mr. Mendez, I would like, as we're looking at these sweeps, you heard from the public, I don't know what the what we're going to be doing, but maybe right now as we're talking about it, we can just, because it is cold out there, I think we shouldn't disrupt that right now and until we have a good plan in place. And I'm supporting, because they are health issues as well. But if we could just stop right now during the cold season, because I think it's just the right thing to do. And also, Mayor, today we heard from people that live in Casas de Madera coming to say thank you to the police department for the good work. How would you like a prostitute coming in front of your doorstep and on a consistent basis? Whatever that situation looks like, but children do not need to see that, families, and I think the police department, as I hear the residents, the police department has been doing a great job. I think it's important, whatever was working during that time, I know there was funding for it, but maybe we should just continue doing things like that. Whatever is working, let's do that. Also, the Safe Route to Schools art project, we went to St. Mary's Santa Maria Catholic Church, 2.1 million for art. And Mr. Mendez, as you and I spoke, this is going to be great because we want our children, when they're leaving home to school, that they go through a nice neighborhood. And I think the city needs to do our part in doing away with blight. So we need to do a better job, whether it's code enforcement, however that looks like. But I think we can do a better job, and I would like to support you with that. Also, I went on a ride-along with Sergeant Jerry Magana. Man, let's hire more people like Sergeant Jerry Magana. That man, he put his team together. I went on a ride-along. They went and arrested I don't know how many people, and they had the drone out there. You know what? The amount of work that these people go through. And the fire department coming together with the police department. It was just amazing. I was just so proud. And, we got a lot of young officers from the Alizar. Huh? They're going to Alizar High School, and now they're coming to work for the police department. So I want to say thank you for that good work. Buckhorn Early Learning Center, I was there when your mom was there, the mayor was there. The city did a partnership with the Alizar Union School District. Mr. Mayor, I think the city asked them for $1 for that property. That project took like 25 years, but it's finally there. There's going to be 92 children. Imagine this. This is like pre-kindergarten. 92 children, if I remember the number correctly. They're going to have an early start in education. And I want to thank Alizar Union School District for being a partner with us. And tomorrow, I know the city manager and I and some other folks, we're going to meet with the LSL School District, Union School District, to discuss the soccer field out at Montevilla Park. I'm going to ask my colleagues for, as Ms. Lisa Brinton said, teamwork here. I need support from my colleagues with the folks out at Montevilla. We all want the best, but I would like for you folks to allow the city manager and myself to take care of the issues. You know what? I think we're doing some great work, but we need to collaborate with each other, because what's going to happen, they're going to pit us against one another, and I don't want that. So in the spirit of teamwork here, I'm going to ask you that you help us out with that. Tomorrow, we are meeting to discuss the soccer field, which has been a problematic issue for about 3 years now. Hopefully, and I think the mayor is going to be involved somehow. I know he's got his magic wand somewhere down the line. And also after that meeting, I will be attending the immigration meeting at LSL School right after that. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, just a request, maybe staff could support some outreach for that main meeting about prostitution. You know, it sounds like it's going to be led by a community member, but maybe we can help support those outreach efforts. I had a chance to meet with somebody, Sal Munoz, a longtime historian and architect. Got a lot of history about Salinas, really passionate. So if any of my colleagues have a position on the Historic Resource Board, he's definitely interested in serving, and I can pass along his info. I had a chance to attend Azúcar Café, Azúcar con Café grand opening. You got to bite into a giant concha. Those things were delicious. I encourage you. It's in District 6. It's right next to BJ's. A lot of good food, great people, and great environment. I also had a meeting with Mayor Donahue and the staff at Northridge Mall. They shared their vision, plans for revamping Northridge Mall. Stay tuned. Lots of good stuff happening. They were appreciative for the ease of obtaining a business license now that we moved it back in-house, streamlined and more efficient. They also offered to partner with new businesses to help them come to Salinas. So there's a lot of good stuff happening there. The Salinas Juneteenth hosted a screening of Shirley. And Shirley is a movie that centers around Shirley Chisholm's groundbreaking 1972 campaign, highlighting themes of breaking barriers in American politics. The film illustrated the challenges faced by women and people of color in leadership roles, emphasizing perseverance against adversity, and underscores the importance of representation and the lasting impact of political trailblazers on future generations. I want to commend a Salinas resident, but a District 5 resident. His name is Gabriel Antonio Cortez, for publishing his first comic book here in the city of Salinas. It's called Vato Man and Ruben. It's an interesting book. It says comic books have been officially, give me 1 second. It's a group of wannabe influencers who, armed with only duct tape, an old school camcorder, divine intervention, bravely confronted the technological crisis and criminal conspiracy threatening humanity in the summer of 1998. Their remarkable efforts in the city of Salinas, despite their relatively unknown status, demonstrated exceptional courage and resourcefulness in the face of biblical proportions of adversity. So stay tuned. There's going to be a kickoff in March, and congratulations to Gabriel. It's a pretty cool comic book, and I encourage you all to go and buy it. And that's all. I encourage you to go to the Know Your Rights workshop. I'll be there, and a lot of good stuff happening in Salinas. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Just a couple of things. I did have a chance to the Buckhorn Early Child Development. It was impressive to go to Northridge and really hear, frankly, the success of that mall and the amount of traffic they had. It really it was a good retail story to hear, and I think certainly glad they're doing well. I did do my first ride along since I'd been back in office, and I was. I need this to come out right when I say it. I wanted to. I know folks were concerned about the prostitution issue, and the good news is we went to that area, and basically nobody was there, which spoke to, you know, the effectiveness of the action that was taken by the police. So I think, you know, I think we should all be appreciative of that, and, you know, it was interesting how it was explained to me, so it is something where you really have to stay on top of it. And, the other thing I found out, and, you know, when I think about infrastructure, you know, on the residential side, I typically, you know, streets, sidewalks, potholes, but I think one of the things that we need to get on our radar, and we heard some of it tonight, this is a city that is too dark in certain spots throughout the city, and I think, and then I think also in some important places, you know, the Alisal, when, you know, I know if like I'm out at Alisal High and then I come back up Alisal, it's dark. But I was concerned that it's not a well-lit city in certain areas, and then the other thing that was concerning was just the number of lights that are out throughout the city. And I don't know the answer to the question, but it kind of reminded me of when I became the mayor the first time. We talked about code enforcement. We need 5 more officers, and we said, okay, we got them. And then we hired them to work between 8 and 5, but all the code enforcement problems are between 5 and 8 and on weekends. So I don't know if it's we don't have coverage, or, and the officer, he said, you know, I can't stop and make note of all this stuff. So this issue of lights, I think we need to get on our radar. That would just be one of the takeaways I had from that. And then the other thing is, most of you may or may not know by now, I got appointed to LAFCO, and you know, as I recall, the vote was not unanimous, and so we'll, you know, all of us sit on a number of boards, so I've added that to my portfolio. Anything, I guess I'll ask in the form of agenda items, anything should be brought up?
No, I think we're good. I'll follow up on the sweeps and stuff. I want to get accurate information, and just correct the record. But let me follow up on that. Then I'll message it and we'll get it out.
Okay. All right. With that, rumor has it we will be back here February 25th, same time, same place. Okay. Very good. Meeting adjourned.